Invite everybody, come on in. Let's all rise. SOS, come on up and let's offer the blessing of glory.
Now the light of glory arises like the sun that shines on high. Now awaken into freedom, or revive your spirit, so revive. Wake the mountains and the valleys, bring alive the springs of the earth. Light the world forever with the light of your rebirth. Light the world forever with the light of your rebirth. We are called to bring back the glory to the life of God above. Now the Lord in His greatness fills the universe with tender love. Ever seeking souls awaken, ever calling them to be free. How shall I attend Him who is calling to me? How shall I attend Him who is calling to me? From the dark of death I awaken and rejoice to live in grace, when the one who came to save me holds me tenderly in His embrace. I rejoice to feel the comfort of the love He has for me. What a blessing of glory to rejoice eternally. What a blessing of glory to rejoice eternally. Now He lifts me up to embrace me, when the blessing that is mine. What a blessing to receive Him in a love so tender and divine. How can I return a blessing, though in all my life I will try? I can never stop feeling how unworthy am I can never stop feeling how unworthy am I.
Praise God, everybody. Thank you, SOS. Please be seated, everybody. Welcome today, October 22nd, 2017. Wow. Wow. Almost at November already. Let's turn this bad boy on right here. That's probably why it's pointing not working there. Here we go. Welcome everybody here to the sanctuary, or if you're visiting online for the first time, welcome you. Okay. Boom. Hey, there you go. Teen night was last night, every first and third Saturday of the month. Sanctuary Church, 6 p.m. For more info, contact Jamal Johnson. And there's the young people in their teen night rally last night, or meeting last night. Sanctuary Church Kingdom Bible Gospel Bible Study. That is Wednesday, 7 p.m. Ongoing. Bill Brunhofer and Lowell Ellenson. We completed our study of Galatians, and we'll study Ephesians, chapter 1 to... Ooh, wow, Ephesians. Get into Ephesians. Oh, okay. There you go. Here comes the love and respect and the armor of God that's coming out. Wow. There we find Paul teaching that the brothers and sisters at Ephesus were no longer strangers, but fellow citizens of the household of God, built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets in Jesus Christ, its cornerstone. Wow. Praise God. Jesus Christ. Woo! Man, there's power in the name of Jesus today. 58th True Children's Day, 30th day of opening of heaven for the unified world of heaven and earth. That is Saturday, November 18. We're just coming very soon. 5 a.m. prayer gathering, staff meeting. 6:45 pre-program. 7 a.m. main ceremony. 9 a.m. breakfast. 10 a.m. closing. Dress code will be dark suit and tie for men. Women, white or beige, and crowns for all kings and queens. That is November 18th, True Children's Day, 30th day of opening heaven for unified world of heaven and earth. Also, on Sunday, November 19th, there's an ancestor liberation and blessing. That will be 10:45 pre-program, 11 a.m. main ceremony, and 1 p.m. lunch. Dress code for men, dark suit and red tie. Women, white or beige, and crowns for all kings and queens. Bam! Hey, it worked. See that? Event management team meeting today, 3 p.m. small chapel for all department head and key volunteers. Kindly be on time so we can prepare well for the next events. That's 3 p.m. today. Event team meeting. Also, Freedom Society seminars. In our most recent meeting, we watched an interview of Dinesh D'Souza by Stefan Molyneux. Kukjinim commented that President Trump represents head-wing ideology and that at the end, our behavior is the problem. Everything is about absolute sex. Our next meeting will be on Thursday, October 26th. Join us for a stimulating discussion led by Kukjinim Car Arms Factory, Lords Valley, PA, 7 p.m. And of course, we join you on a secret computer of you don't know which computer I'll be on. Okay? Last week I was on Richard Panzer's, but I may be somewhere else next time. So you don't know which angle of the table I'll be on. Okay? We'll keep it exciting that way. Keep you guessing. The King's Report, Monday through Saturday. Join us 5 a.m. through 8 a.m. Join us Second King for inspiration, understanding of current issues. Broadcast live on the Newfoundland Sanctuary Church YouTube channel. Hey, how about those wonderful guests that are joining us, huh? Are you guys enjoying the guests? Hey. Guess we're also in a couple of weeks, right? I think we'll have also the commissioner will be coming on too as well. So we have some very good people coming on and onto the show. So definitely stay tuned for your morning brew and hundoke at the same time. Just make sure you drink water before it, okay? All right. Fellowship potluck. Thank you for all your wonderful potluck dishes and for respecting adults, kids, letting the adults go first at lunch on Sunday. Please do not take food into small chapel or library. If you bring a dessert, make it healthy. If you couldn't bring food, $5 to $10 donation to cover the purchase of additional food will be appreciated. Let's give it up for our food ministry team, everybody. They're the ones that make the magic happen, especially with the food there. And of course, they're listening via how would you call that? Would you call it television? What do you call that? Teleprompter? No, not teleprompter. Closed circuit TV? Okay, they're joining us via closed circuit TV. Also, Daughters of Christ Bakery Bake Sale. As Sanctuary homeschool students raise money help them raise money for a special trip to Thailand, Cambodia. They're leaving next week or something? Leaving Thursday. Okay, so keep them in your prayers as well. Okay, folks, keep them in your prayers. There's a nice prayer list that I saw in the Queen's prayer room, that little prayer list thing. That was good. We should. Hey, Regis from Panama is here. Look at that. Just wondering who that guy was over there. Hey, Regis. Nice to see you. Okay, so is this a final bake sale? Is that right? Kids, is that right? Is this a final bake sale? I don't know whether or not, but yeah, they will be going for what, like 2 weeks? 2 weeks, okay? They'll be gone for 2 weeks, so definitely keep them in your prayers as they. What was that? A whole bunch. I don't know exactly the number. How many are going? Okay, where are they at? Where's Andy? I don't see him. Okay. Sword. Oh, Sword. Sword is there. How many going on the, what is it, like 20? 15? About 15. Okay, so let's say about 20 people. About 21. Oh, okay, about 21 people. So keep them in your prayers. They'll be going to both Thailand and Cambodia. For many of them, it'll be the first time they're in a, not, I guess, what would Thailand and Cambodia be considered? Are they considered third world countries? They are, right? Or developing countries. Is that the proper word? Developing words. Developing country. Okay, so for many of the young people, that will be their first experience. And they're not just going to be in the cities and stuff like that, right? We have a whole bunch of challenges for them, right? Are they going to train in the Thai boxing thing too when they're in Thailand? Okay, good. Go train down there. You got Sen Chai down there. You got some super high level Muay Thai guys out there. So even just taking a class in that class, of course, they're not going to do nothing to Sen Chai. but taking a class in that, at least you have that in your training. that you had take a class with Sen Chai, or so it was a Tiger Muay Thai. Tiger Muay Thai is on there in Thailand. Also Sen Chai Muay Thai in Bangkok, I believe. So that would be good training for them. They're going to miss a lot of training, so they can do that training over there. And of course, you guys are also doing some bushcrafting there too in the jungles, right? As well. Okay. So they have some jungle hiking, trekking, I think jungle trekking that they have to do, and some of that. Watch out, them vipers and snakes. There's real poisonous snakes out there, so watch out. Watch out. All right, so that's coming up next week. Sunday school time. All right, kids, go ahead. Reminder all parents, please keep an eye on your children. Thank you, Sunday school teachers. Let's give it up for our Sunday school teachers, everybody. All right. Now, we have something very special today that I want to show you. This is a documentary that just broke this week. It is a very important one because even though I post these things on Facebook, it's hard for everybody to see it. But this is a really critical one to see, okay? Because we're talking about right now at the end of time, especially post-trib scenario situation. So we're talking about also the fall of Babylon is coming. And of course, we know that Babylon is the harlot of Babylon, is the mother of all harlots, is the mother of all adulteries. Okay, and that really comes from the culture in the world today that we see. We see that culture coming from not the whole U.S., but the U.S. in particular. Hollywood is really creating that culture of Satanism, Babylon, adultery, fornication, transsexual, bisexual, you name it, whatever, anything under the sun that is demonic, they got it, okay? And, of course, you see right after the perfection level cosmic blessing, then you see that whole industry collapsing. You see it just start exploding. And you saw literally the Harvey Weinstein, the Polanski, the new stuff is coming out in Dredge. Who's that new guy? They got this new producer out that has all these sex abuse crimes, etc. And what people are starting to realize is that this has been going on a long time. But why now? Why is it exploding now? Why is it coming to the forefront now? It's now coming out, right? The satanic ties, all that kind of thing, is now coming out right after the cosmic blessing. Think about it. The political Satanists want to exploit men. They want to exploit women. And what's the third class? They want to exploit children. So they want to exploit the men. They want them to be the workhorses, get the working, become the slaves, and steal their taxes from the produce that they create, right? Then they want to exploit the women, have them beat on the men and control the men, so that the men live under the dominion of them and keep that slave system going. And of course, they want to then indoctrinate the children by keeping them in the public schools, all that. But it's exploitation, men, women, and children. That's what it is. Socialism, communism, whatever, you name it, is human exploitation, which means men, women, and children. Those are the real three categories, okay? So some of these places in Babylon, of course, in America, which then influenced the whole world, influenced different parts of this, but we know that the real center of mainstream brainwashing and mainstream, especially targeting children and teens especially, is what? Hollywood. That's Hollywood. And from there, LA and all the dreams of, stardom, and you name it, that leads to not only pornos, that not only leads to porn industry, that leads to the hidden underground pedophilia networks, the Satanist networks that are in there, all the Luciferian killings and all that. That stuff is stemming from the culture of the center of that cultural realm, really of the fornication, adultery, Babylon, which is Hollywood. Okay. But it's presented to us on this platter and shiny and glamorous and luxurious and diamonds and star-studded and whatever, what is it, the red carpet. But you think about it, it really is the red carpets that they're walking on, literally walking on the blood of children, right? And then, of course, Los Angeles or L.A. means the angels, or the fallen angels, city of angels. And of course, that's the epicenter. That really is the epicenter for the worldwide fornication, worldwide free sex movement, worldwide propaganda, using visual stimulus, entertainment, you name it, to perpetuate this culture of fallen archangelism. Okay, and that's always that sex culture is also tied to a political culture as well, which is of course why all the lefties, why California has become such a radical, unbelievably radical. Just lunatic state, now allowing HIV to be put in the blood supply. Boy, oh boy, that sounds crazy, doesn't it? Jerry Brown, just 2 weeks ago, has now decriminalized, if you have AIDS or HIV, you can give blood. No, it's liberal. It's liberal and trendy. It's not crazy, it's liberal. You can give HIV blood into the blood supply now. So they're really poisoning the blood supply. They don't want the people with AIDS and have free sex culture and get all the venereal diseases, gonorrhea, warts, pussing, oozing, cysts all over the body. They don't want them to feel bad, for their licentiousness and fornication and their choice of sexual whatever. So, just got to share the misery. Everybody's just got to have it too, all right? You got to spread it around. Everybody's got to have it too. So that way nobody can be racist or bigoted, even though it's not a race or... Okay? So that's how incredible this is, all right? We live in a literal insane asylum. And it is a concentration of that in California. There is and unfortunately, California get a bad rap, especially north, which are more agrarian, and those people up there are much more conservative, and they want to keep their gun rights, they want to keep their borders, et cetera. But it's just a city nutbags, total leftist lunatic cult. And of course, we know that's tied in with the power structures that are preying on children. Okay, so this is a documentary, very important one that was released this week. It's these organizations, kind of like Project Veritas, but they have a whole bunch of documentaries focused on Hollywood. Okay, and of course they're going to be, there's people already threatening and death threatening them. Facebook, Twitter, you name it, they're trying to put it down. So even if you look this up on the web, YouTube, basically patriots are just putting up on their website. Okay, they're copying it and they're putting it up because what YouTube and Facebook, they keep on pulling it down. You see what I'm saying? So it has already has millions and millions of views within one day. It had within a week, it had 1 million plus views, but they keep pulling it down. So when you click on it, it has 20,000 views, sometimes 1,200 views, or something like that. But that's to fool the people, to feel that this has no impact and people are now waking up. The reality is this has now had millions of views, but they keep the social media giants, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, keep on pulling this down, saying that it's fake news or conservative news or whatever. When it's an actual documentary covering all these things. All right, so the reason why. So we'll take a break from Revelation today, but even though it's tied in because there's this whole culture of Babylon, and as we get into Revelation, especially 17 and 18, boy, we're going to see the harlot falling, and that has ties both to the macro and the micro. The Han mother is called Hollywood Han, the Hollywood Han. she's called Hollywood Han mother, because think about it. On the micro, she's been brainwashed. She's been given her soul over to this Hollywood culture. as well. This Korean drama culture, which is a simple byproduct of the Hollywood free sex cult. It's interesting because even in this, there's a Christian woman. Bring up that first video with the Christian woman talking about, not the documentary, the Christian woman with the, just bring up that intro piece, and I'll show you that even they include like K-pop.
Why do I say every American should watch this video? It is about a very dire and very swift onset of complete destruction that is
Look at the
soon
music
to befall
industry.
the
See?
United States of America.
They actually enact satanic rituals on stage.
In this video, I will share with you what Holy Spirit has shown me and countless others.
This girl, Katy Perry, she was a
America
preacher's
is the
daughter.
great whore that rides the beast.
She
of
was actually a
Revelation
minister's
17
daughter.
and 18.
And now she's a whore, and she's a
I will
slut,
tie in the
and she's a
warnings of
sellout to
multiple
Hollywood.
prophets from Old and New Testament that also warned of this future Babylon's fall.
But see how they got the whole
The
stage
details
here?
contained in the Word of God
They
are
got the
too
whole
accurate
presence and
to
oohs
ignore.
and ahs and a big stadium of people.
You'll also see a
look at that
sample of
lion that
modern-day
he's riding
dreams
on.
and visions that contain
all meant
God's
to
warnings
confuse
to
you.
America through His servants, His believers living here in the States.
All that glitz and glamour is
So whether you're
bull
a believer or
schmita.
not,
It's all
please
bull.
hear out this message, as it contains many details about what is to come, how it is to come, and what we, as those who live here, should do about it.
Do you see those little guys that are moving the legs on the lion?
And let me tell you what the Lord showed me
put
last
that down.
night.
Put that volume down. Now everybody knows those stupid figures and those lions are fake. But even though they know it's fake, by watching them from far away, they come into like this different mind state. They're watching this big lion on a stage, walking around. It's playing illusions on you. You can see the dang people moving the legs, but still your mind wants to fall into this fantasy land. You see what I'm saying? You kind of give your mind over to this fantasy land, and that's what happens in movies. What's it called? It's called what is it? It's called like suspended. What is that? Suspended disbelief. Yes, who said that? That's correct. No, suspended disbelief. Suspension of belief. Is it? Anyway, one of those, okay? It's where you're suspending your ability to rationally think. And that's why, of course, entertainment is so powerful, because it can subconsciously train you. It can make you learn new ideas and concepts. It can teach you ideology without you knowing, right? And you can see that, you see all these young people said, oh my gosh, I love that song. It's so cute. It's so amazing. They say, what the song about? And they said, I don't know, but it's wonderful. You know, these kids are just brain dead. You can just literally, they remember that Trump song that they were making? The song about Hillary and Obama. What was that song? I'm so angry. I had enough of these people. Remember that one? They had the young people playing that to techno music in New York. Right? And like young kids, they don't even listen to the lyrics. They just hear the techno beat and they're just like sitting there and lying, whatever, dancing like fools. You know what I'm saying? So they'll literally just take over into a trance. As soon as you just put any type of music on, they just go into a trance, and they're literally going to drugged out trance. And this type of conditioning, you know, this is habituation. If this happens one time, you know, if you program a dog, Pavlov's famous exercises and experiments, right? If you condition a dog and there's like a electric wire and he hits it, bzz, 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 zaps him, the next time you can just put a string there, he's not going to touch that thing. And you can condition that into him over time. And just pretty fast, actually. And it's the same with these kids who are just drinking this poison, giving their mind over to this poison that's coming in without any filters, no critical thinking, no biblical thinking, no conceptual thinking, just giving themselves over, suspending their critical abilities, you know what I'm saying? And by doing that, you're literally giving yourself over to this machine that can, or this entertainment, modality that can then just start shaping you in whatever way it wants, okay? So we know Hollywood is that epicenter. Go ahead, keep playing that, but turn out the volume so I can, okay. So this woman is just another lady
North
out
Korea
there in the body of Christ. And she put together this nice piece. I like that first imagery of Katy Perry and all that. I never saw that one when we were riding a lion. But they just try to make these stages and costumes. Put that volume down. Put that volume down. They try to put all these costumes and these props to make it look more fantastical, to make you suspend your disbelief. and sort of fall into this fantastical fantasia world where they have you as a what is it? What is that? What is that? There's somebody who can't run. It's like, yeah, what is that? What is that? Where's that word for it? Somebody who's trapped. Yeah, audience. What is an audience that's trapped? Captive audience. That's right. They got you as a captive audience. You know what I'm saying? They got you as a captive audience, and you cannot escape that because you're in this fantasy world. It's like when you go to Las Vegas and who saw those shows like O and these kind of Cirque du Soleil? They just trap you in this world of fantasy. You know, and it's a whole genre. It's not like every single one is pumping out, this and that. But you look at this. You see the sexualization of different advertisements, clearly sexualization of even foodstuffs, things like that, indulgence, hedonism, etc. And this is the culture of America. Not real America, okay? This is a culture of Babylon that Hollywood is saying is American culture. Of course, real American culture is Christian-based. The majority of people in America still believe in God, and they still are Christian. Okay? But Hollywood portrays a different one. Okay, and now we're in a different scenario than in the 1960s or 70s. Look at this bozo, Gaga, who sold herself to Satan. She says she swears to Lucifer, and on numerous occasions, she says she has paranoia fits. She can't go to sleep at night, and she has demons that haunt her. Well, if you're doing rituals and calling Satans and different demons to come to you, you may lose some sleep. That may be a byproduct of eating those kind of GMOs, okay? You eat some poison, you may die. You eat some rat poison, your stomach's going to start hurting. You know what I mean? You're calling some demons. They're going to promise you power, promise you good things, but you're not going to sleep so well. They're going to start getting you, and you're going to start slitting your wrists and thinking that you're victimized and you're so poor. Look at me. All those things, all those demonic forces are spiritual in nature behind the scene. And trying to get young people to fall in this cult. It's a death cult. It's a cult of destruction. It's a cult of exploitation, right? She goes into the different media conglomerates. You see all this entertainment industry, Viacom, Disney, look at that, Time Warner. Almost everything you see on TV, internet, and of course with YouTube and the algorithms and Facebook are controlled. Even the trending stuff. Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, excellent young man, patriot, is exposing that reality just, 2 weeks ago. His second video came out, right? Where he's inside of YouTube, and showing that YouTube trending is not trending at all. It's the actual people inside there choosing which videos they want to trend. Okay, this is Hollywood showing some different satanic symbolism. When we had Zachary King on, who was a former Satanist for 26 years, remember that? He was good. He was a good guest. But he was telling us about these different symbols, okay? And we were talking about these different satanic symbols that arise. And, to these kids, it's all a big joke when they come to Hollywood, Oh, everybody's doing this. It's all just like, oh, everybody's doing it. It's all a big joke. But as they get sucked into it, they realize these people at the top, it's not a joke to them. It's literal religious practice for them, you understand? They're literally into satanic cult rituals. All right, and the very, very highest level, we have some people from Britain here today. But even at the highest level, world level, leaders, powers, former Prime Minister UK, Edward Heath. Total Satan. Look at this, that's K-pop. Look at this, is K-pop. What's it? That's K-pop, right? That's K-pop. You see what I'm saying? So that's all connected. All the little different smaller branches of, quote, Western culture that spread over the democracies in Asia and South Korea is supposed to have Western culture and all that. It's just Babylon culture. It's just Hollywood culture. That's what they're promoting. Look at this. Look at this. This is a former minister daughter, Katy Perry, again, doing the cross up there. She does the satanic rituals. She does this stuff on the Grammys, and everybody's seen this a million times, but it's literally Satanism. Okay, you got the goat heads, you got all this fire, all that kind of stuff. The culture of fornication, the culture of adultery, the culture of exploitation, the culture of sexual deviance, the culture of thinking it's all a big joke, thinking sex is a big joke, thinking sex is, hey, come on, don't be so tight, uptight about it. It's natural. You'll hear this all the time. It's natural. You'll see this in a documentary too. That's how they justify it. It's natural. Remember this? This is why the evolutionist, who actually is an atheist, who are evolutionists, they have a huge problem Because you cannot say that rape is evil. Can't say it. Because in the animal kingdom, and if they believe we're animals, we're just the apex of animals, we're just an evolved ape. Rape is completely normal. Male lions will rape forcefully, have sex with female lions, force themselves upon it. Even the female lions do not want that. Okay, so just philosophically, you can't run away from it. You can't run away from the fact if you're an atheist and you're an evolutionist, the fact that then you have no philosophical grounds to say that rape is bad, evil. All you can say it's taboo. All you can say is socially taboo. You can't say that it is wicked, evil, licentious, and demonic. And of course, this is the big trap that everyone falls into when they go to Babylon, Hollywood. It's sad culture. What's interesting about this documentary is that it shows you how pervasive this culture is. The lure of Hollywood. We think it's just like it impacts nobody. No. You got these young kids in rural areas who just dreaming to hit star-studded stardom and go to Hollywood. I mean, they're in delusional land. And then you got these crazed out, wacky, just brain-dead parents who send them. Who send them, okay? So, of course, witchcraft, sorcery, all this, when you first enter into the circles, it's all fun and games, it's all music and dance, it's all a big joke. It's all you're invited into this, first level, low level, parties where they have Jesus sitting on a throne and there's naked women around and he's, starting to seduce and touch them. And they're seducing Jesus. Anything to blaspheme Christ. Anything to blaspheme Christianity. Anything to blaspheme, God. And of course, Zachary King was explaining on his other video. Okay, that's the lady. I like her intro. Her intro was very nice, nicely done. Put in some new imagery that we haven't seen. But Zachary King, for example, in the Freemasons, what they will do is they will make you make oaths in the beginning. Okay? They will make you make oaths. Go ahead, turn on the lights, guys. Turn on the lights one more time. But they will make you make promises. They will make you make oaths and swear on this and swear on that, like this, right? And so the low-level Freemasons are, they just think, oh, okay, this Christian organization. They're making me make oaths to Jesus Christ's name. Okay? So that's how they suck you in. They make you make oaths to Jesus Christ. Make an oath to Jesus. Make an oath to Jesus. We're a Christian. Make an oath to Jesus. This is how they do it. And then as you go up, what they start doing, Zachary King, who was the former Satanist, 26 years, high-level Satanist, high priest, okay, who's been involved in all that, he said then what they do is they start making you make smaller oaths. So, for example, once they make you make an oath in Jesus and they got you in their little parties and all this kind of stuff, then at one party or whatever gathering, they're going to make you make an oath on something very innocuous. So let's say we're going to make an oath not to, this was an example he gave. We're going to make an oath not to eat this sandwich in front of us. And they're going to have a sandwich and all the butlers will bring their sandwiches, whatever, okay? And say, okay, we make an oath on the name of Jesus not to eat this sandwich. And then what will they do? Then the top leader or whatever, or by peer pressure and consensus, they will try to push you and say, you know what, but I'm going to eat it. I'm going to eat it. And so you have one guy eat it, and they say, come on, eat it, come on, eat it, come on, eat it. And then they make you eat the sandwich. All right, so now they make you break one small oath. It's about a sandwich. You see this? Then they make you make an oath about something else, whatever. He said it could be about anything at one of the gatherings. It could be about, we make an oath not to white. Okay? And then at the event, then everybody's handed a white cloak. Or whatever, black or whatever the color is, right? Then you have to wear it. So then you break the oath. You see what they're doing? So they first sucked you in by making you believe that they believe promises are good and keeping promises are good and all this kind of thing. But as you go along, then they want you to break smaller things. They want you to break smaller things. And it's all a big joke. It's all a hee-hee-hoo-hoo. Ooh, it's so fun. We're breaking some rules, like this kind of stuff. And then by the time, and Zachary King was saying, they make you do hundreds of these over the course of your rising up through the different levels of Freemasonry. The top is which is 33rd level, right? So by the time you get to the 33rd level, You've made now hundreds or even thousands of different small oaths, which you've broken. So now to you, oaths mean nothing. They've deconditioned you. They've reconditioned you to believe oaths. They've made you make oaths, promises before God in Jesus Christ's name, and then break them. And they say, hey, look, see, you didn't die. See, you didn't get punished. See? And they start you like that, and they keep on going. And by the time you're at 33rd level, whatever, you are so used to breaking oaths that now you're in it for the whole thing. You want to break everything. There's no limits. And now you've turned yourself over to saying, see, it always starts with one little lie, doesn't it? It always starts with one little lie, one little fall, one little this or that. It's just that, what is this, cascading slope, right? Slippery slope. See, but they understand. See, these ancient occultists and ancient Satanists understand the way human behavior happens, understand the way people do human psychology. You know, they didn't call it psychology, they didn't call it human behavioral studies, but they understood that people have patterns. And if they can exploit those patterns, they can make people evil. They can make you evil. Even a, quote, minister's daughter like Katy Perry sucked them, like Taylor Swift too, right? She was coming in, she was pretending she's a Christian girl. I did hear she supported Trump, but I'm not sure, okay? But Christian girl, and then slowly you see the corruption. Every single video gets a little more raunchy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She's losing that Christian culture, Christian value. She's losing her ability to say, no, I don't want to be part of this kind of culture, right? And that promise of star, and that promise of the new video is going to make hits or whatever, is just sucking them in. But isn't it interesting how Satan will make you make one lie, turn into 2 lies, 3 lies, 10 lies, 100 lies, 1,000 lies, and these things will break you down over time. You see this? One little, you break one oath. Hey, I made a promise with this, with my dad or my mommy, but I'm going to break it. That's essentially what the family fraud was telling us to do, especially when the Hollywood Han mother was trying to tell us, hey, break your promise with true father, basically. And all the leaders around said, come on, break us. It's not a big deal. Just go along with it. You see what I'm saying? It's the same type of spirit, the same type of fornication, the same type of adultery, the same type of evil. And this is not only pervasive on the micro, but of course on the macro. Coming from Hollywood, because they can sell sex, they can sell naked ladies and boobs and booty. You know what I'm saying? They can sell it, and they can attract people to see it, attract people to give them suspended disbelief, suspended belief, suspended disbelief. That's what it's called. It's right, suspended disbelief. They can bring you into an atmosphere of suspended disbelief, and so without you understanding it, you are being indoctrinated. You're being sexed up. You are being groomed. You are being groomed. And you'll see this in the documentary, the whole idea of grooming. You are being groomed. The more you consume this stuff, you are being groomed. You are being prepared for the rituals. You see this? So very, very, very wicked, very intense. However, this came out this week. So anybody who's seeing this, we'll put the link down too. Share it. Share it to everybody you know. Everybody has to see this. Doesn't matter if they agree with you, your friends. It doesn't matter. Even outside people. Yeah, hey, everybody you know, it has to see this video. This kind of thing has to go completely viral. Of course, it already is, but it has to go more viral. Because everybody has to realize when you go see a movie that's made in Hollywood, you are supporting these type of predators. You're paying for them. You're giving them a tip. You're giving them a check. You're saying, thank you for sexually trafficking children. Every time you go see a movie. And this is why I thank goodness we have a developing consciousness. People, as they get more conscious of the problem, then their conscience can be re-stimulated. Say, hey, I am supporting this industry, which is literally hiding sex predators. And you're going to see exactly how deep it is. All right? Because you're going to think about it. Oh, come on, going to see a movie, that's not harmless. Exactly, yes, good. Good, believe that, little baby, good. That's, of course, what they want you to believe that it's innocuous. But of course, you're paying for it. You're paying for your own sexualization. You're paying for your own sexualization, grooming. You're literally paying for it. And then the parents will also take their children too, without vetting these movies, etc. Thank goodness we have some Christian movies that are good coming out. What's that new movie? Is there a new movie coming out? Is there a new movie? What was that new movie? What was that? Proof of Faith? Something like that. Okay, go look that up. We have to, oh man. See, those kind of movies we should support. And there's a great booming now Christian evangelical movie industry that's forming, which is Question of Faith. And they're actually starting to rake in millions from their productions, which is great. Because that's the market, that's honest people, that's people with conscience saying, hey, I'm no longer going to support sexual molesters and pedophiles, and I'm going to support Christian-based movies and Christian ethical movies. I am no longer a suspended disbelief, mentally handicapped, indoctrinated consumer. I am a critical consumer. I'm thinking before I consume something. I don't just eat anything that's on my plate. All right? Because those little vampires may have put some damn poison on my plate. I'm going to be critical of what's on my plate, what I will choose to eat and consume. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you do that in your normal life. You must do this with other type of media that you're consuming into your soul. The eyes are the window of the soul. If you keep on watching that poison, your soul is being poisoned. It's not a big joke. It's not oh, come on, it's not the harmless. Oh, come on. That's how they make you break small loaves by small loaves by small loaves. Because it's all a big joke. Come on, it's fun. Come on, it's just a little laugh. Don't worry about it. But 1 leads to 2, leads to 5, leads to 20, leads to 1,000. It's a slippery slope, okay? Share this video with everybody you know. We gotta. This is how we make a difference, just by sending this out. This is how incredibly easy it is. You just click on that thing and you send it to people, and you're literally engaged in fighting a war. That's how simple it is. Thank goodness we don't have to do it yet with AR-15s. You know what I'm saying? It may come down to that at some point. Who knows? But now, all you got to do is click something. It's so easy. And whether or not people want to open it or not and see it or not, that's their problem. That's their fault if they didn't see it. But there are people that are going to see it just because you sent it to them. You know what I mean? And then you're helping then to expose an industry that is industrial level, professionally exploiting children. Industrial level sexual exploitation. There's got to be a more nasty word for it. That's just sexual exploitation now has become so scientific. There's got to be like sexual abuse, sexual destruction, childhood, whatever. Anyways, it's just destroying people's souls, ravaging their souls, destroying them, bringing them literally into the mouth of Satan before they're too young, to even realize what they're being sucked into. All right, and this is, of course, the culture that is now collapsing. Hollywood is now getting exposed. It's collapsing. So let's watch the documentary. Let's take a look at this documentary. Share it to everybody you know. It's called An Open Secret. Lights.
Hello, I'm Conrad Bain. Tonight on Different Strokes, we're starting a special 2-part show on a very sensitive and important subject. Now, we urge families, children, and parents alike to watch both of these informative episodes and then to discuss the problem presented, which is of deep concern to all of us.
Hey, Mr. Bicycle Man! Hey, Mr. Bicycle Man!
Arnold, the man's name is Mr. Hort.
Right. Hey, Mr. Bicycle Man!
That show was very unsettling for me. I couldn't watch it. I didn't want to be around it. I asked him, don't write me in, please write me out of most of this.
Give me a bite, please, please. Don't just stand there. Help me grovel. Well, Daddy, I guess he could keep his bike downstairs in the garage.
Yeah, Dad, and there's plenty of safe places to ride in the park. And as far as strange people go, I mean, they're everywhere. We've got one living in our apartment.
It was unsettling because I had myself gone through that. And watching it happening on the show, it was like reliving that all over again. I was reliving that whole thing all over again.
Maybe we better not let your dad know about the bike. In fact, maybe it would be best if you didn't even mention, that you came back here and I gave you all this ice cream before dinner. Why don't we just make it our little secret, huh?
You know something, Mr. Horton? You're sneaky.
Sneaky.
Yeah, I'm getting a whole new respect for sneaky.
This is what happened in my life. And they didn't know about it.
You know something, Arnold? I really like you. I really like you. You and I are gonna have a lot of good times together.
We met when I was a baby. I was 14, and he was 17. There was a school dance at my school. It was called the Sweetheart Dance. And Fred called me, and we were talking on the phone, and all of a sudden he goes, "Jan?" I said, "Yeah." "Will you go to the Sweetheart Dance with me?" And he threw the phone down.
I hate rejection. Can't stand it.
So when he got back on the phone, I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'll go."
Though it hurts to go away, it's impossible to stay. But there's one thing I must say.
Dated all through high school, and I ended up going into service, and I asked her to marry me before I went into service. When I came home for good, she had a big oak tree in her front yard, her mom's front yard.
Yeah.
And I come down the street, and there's a big yellow ribbon with a big bow on it tied around the tree, so.
Kisses for me, say all your kisses for me. Bye-bye, baby, bye-bye. Don't cry, honey.
I wanted him to see that I was waiting, and I will always wait for him. And I needed him to know that when he came down the street. I loved him, and can't wait to see him. Can't wait for him to be home.
Hang on, baby, hang on.
Freddie was born on Easter Sunday. Brought him home in a little bunny suit with ears. And then Mark came along 3 years later. We had a great time with our kids when they were growing up. They had sports. Freddie played soccer and baseball. Mark played soccer, baseball, and football. And we had a boat, and we went camping and fishing, and
We'd stay up and watch movies, and they could get tired and they'd fall asleep. Well, I'd end up putting hair paint in their hair and putting
They'd
makeup
sleep in.
on them and all kinds of stuff while they were sleeping.
yeah, they had fun.
And we had a blast. Mark had a great time as a kid through school.
Very well liked. Had a lot of friends.
Wake up in the morning, have 5, 7, 8 guys down there, that decided to drop by and spend the night. So, raid the refrigerator.
He had one girlfriend all the way through high school, and that he loved very much. And he just was real popular and fun, and he loved high school. I don't know what prompted him to think about modeling, but
When he was really young.
he was in his early teens when
Yeah.
he first started talking about that.
Yeah.
He wanted me to take him to a modeling agency here in Cincinnati. We just have to tell him we just can't afford that. So he was not happy. I mean, he was disappointed, but he was okay. But I think it was a dream of his from the time he was that old, 12, 13, 14 years old. So when he got an opportunity, I couldn't say no.
Graduated high school and left for California.
My My grandparents were the ones that made the move from Switzerland. They took out a map, and then they kind of like pointed like wherever they wanted to go. My grandmother made my grandpa actually do it, and he told me he kind of purposely moved to LA because he wanted to like see all the celebrities and stars and what people think they can see down here.
I think every little kid is, dreams about being famous and being in movies and, stuff like that. I mean, a lot of my heroes were actors. Johnny Depp was, the biggest at the time. I mean, and just everything that, he was able to do, the different personas that he was able to take on, that fascinated me.
Everyone had always said, as growing up as a kid, oh, Mike should be in modeling, or Mike should be in acting, or it was great. So I got a good manager, and I booked tons and tons and tons, especially print. I mean, it was like I couldn't stop booking it.
Yeah, he was thrilled. He was excited. We're from a Midwestern town, and that was really something new and something different, and Michael seemed to be thrilled with doing it.
I had a good life growing up. Started doing operas and stuff like that with my grandmother at the Houston Grand Opera. I remember going out at the very end of the opera and holding a sword up in the air. And like everybody, it was the very end, like going up and holding a sword, and everybody stood up and clapped and started throwing flowers and everything. It was just, and the sound of it was just amazing. The sound of the crowd. And that's probably the happiest acting memory that I have, the happiest experience that I have. I started developing an interest in acting and started taking acting classes in Houston and got an agent.
I don't know where you want to go. I don't know your venture. Look, this is California. This is where you make it. This is it. You know what I mean? This is where it all starts. People try to die and they try to get here. You know what I mean? You here, so wish you luck.
Thank you very much. Just the love of movies and film, and I just kind of grew up with it ever since I was like 5 years old. I was in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I was in a couple of other films, and I was in The Apostle with Robert Duvall and Farrah Fawcett.
It tells me of a Savior's love who died to set.
The audition process was we met up with Robert Duvall, and he sat at a piano. My little sister and I sang some songs with him.
Because he first loved me. Let's give a big hand clap for Jesus.
I have always been singing, like since I was 3.
I remember him taking afternoon naps, and he would wake up from his nap and he would sing. We thought he had a very good voice, but then we heard it from friends and even from people. We go to a restaurant and Evan was singing, and people would just come up and say, oh my God, how cute he is, and he has such a good voice, and he has a talent. You should do something with that talent,
I wanted to perform. I wanted to be part of that in crowd. I wanted to be friends with stars, so I could tell everybody else that I have friends who are celebrities. You're just attracted to, I guess, being the center of attention.
I was the kid most likely to be a star. I was Mr. Entertainment. Long blonde hair.
Hi. Can I borrow your towel?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Probably play the bratty, person your mother warned you about. Yeah, I look very young, so when I was 12, I could read for 8, 10, 9, and that's what LA looks for, Like now, I could probably play, 25 or 30, I'm sure.
You've made an awful lot of money for the movie companies, and I would hope that you've gotten a nice big chunk yourself. You're doing all right, huh?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
What do you want to do when you grow up?
It's tough. It's you know, it's not as easy and glamorous as everybody thinks it is. You know?
Mason Gibb, but I'm 6.5 years old.
If you don't understand right away that you're gonna get a million no's, and maybe one yes if you're lucky, maybe. You know what I mean? Then you shouldn't be in this business.
As a child, especially, you're having a door slammed in your face every day, sometimes 6 times a day. You could go on a year's worth of auditions and not book a job. And that gets very frustrating because you're not seeing any benefit from what you're doing.
If you're watching this DVD or video, you're probably a parent looking for information related to launching a career in the entertainment industry for your infant, child, or teen.
There's a lot of managers now in the business. When I first came to town managing kids, I was the only one. No one else managed children. They never heard of it. They looked at me like I was crazy. Several of the established agents wouldn't even talk to me. I must be a terrible person if I was coming with all these kids. It took a while to establish that children need management just like everybody else.
I'm one of the founding members of the then Screen Actors Guild Young Performers Committee, now SAG-AFTRA. And I have been the chair of the committee in the past. Now I'm just a foot soldier. Children are mostly willing to listen. They're ready to absorb things. They haven't yet developed any preconceived ideas about who they are and how they're going to get somewhere. We try and advise them what directions to go in. And when you're doing that, you're managing the parent as well.
When parents enter the entertainment industry, they are typically entering the industry because their child has asked them to, because it's a dream of their child, or because someone has approached them and said that their child was somehow suited to the industry. They don't have any idea how the industry really works.
A lot of kids I knew had gotten emancipated you know, because of they wanted to have the studio see them as an adult so they wouldn't have to pay for set teachers and have to have their parents on set, etc. Like, you're more likely to be hired that way.
The actor is responsible for their headshot and their resume. So my pet peeve is the actor that comes in and says, oh, my mom has that in the waiting room. Your mom should never have your headshot and resume unless she's picking them up from the print shop. Once you are 8, you are responsible for your own career.
The internet changed everything for us. We were quite surprised to find our own children's pictures were being sold on eBay. Just their regular headshots, not anything salacious, not even anything erotic. Our kids were not famous at all. They were working, but they were certainly not where anyone would care that their headshots were being sold on eBay. And yet it became clear that they were, and they were being sold for a lot of money. And you wonder, who wants my kid's picture for $300? Especially a printed picture that we'd send you for free. We started the process of investigating, and we started to put together a matrix of the photographers and the sellers and who was doing what. We were very disturbed to find that they were really close to us, really, really close.
My cousin Darian, he was working all the time. Like, he went to 50 auditions, like, in a span of 2 months or something. Seemed like he was actually, you know, moving up.
Well, the way it happened is because of his cousin. You know, he was already signed with a manager.
My parents and, my sister approached and just said that, hey, Darian's doing very well with Marty. You guys should check it out.
Martin Weiss, better known as Marty, was a manager in Hollywood for probably a good 15 years. He managed child actors, boys and girls, but primarily boys. Marty had close relationships with his clients. He had sleepovers regularly, screening parties with his clients regularly. He would take them out Halloween trick-or-treating, all his clients together, and he would dress up like a dinosaur or a shark or Thing 1 or Thing 2 from The Grinch. He was very aggressive as a manager, though, and he was honestly very good at it. His clients got auditions, they got work.
He said, all you have to do is sing a few songs and you'll make it big and you'll meet a producer, you'll get signed by a label, you can star on Disney Channel shows. You know, what kid wouldn't want that, right?
It happened pretty quick. I remember he was signed with Marty at age 11.
I didn't really think, quite honestly, at the time that much would come of it.
Okay, our next performer began a singing career less than 1 year ago and already caught the eye and ear of several major names in the industry.
I remember I did the Young Artist Awards.
Well, he was excited. You know, he got dressed up and was a bit nervous.
We did too.
Yeah, I think maybe we were more nervous than he was.
For us, it was extremely exciting, and we were really proud of Evan. And it also felt, at least I thought it felt right for Evan too. When he was up there singing, he was like a natural.
Marty called me one day. He was like, Evan, I have a surprise. You got a Burger King commercial.
Open season toys are now at Burger King. You can collect all 8 open season toys. There's one per kids meal. And you can have a smart treat like milk. Have it your way with open season at Burger King now.
It was exciting because I'd never did a commercial and I landed a commercial.
Great to see your kid on TV, you know, the first time. Hey, there's Evan.
Right. So we were very proud. Marty really, you know, he did a lot for Evan.
My parents dropped my brother and I off at my aunt's house, and then we met Marty, and then he picked my cousins and my brother and I up, and we went to play basketball at a park. And, you know, he was kind of cool. He was, you know, he would make jokes, and, you know, he was really immature, and we were all immature back then, and he'd crack sex jokes, and I thought nothing was wrong with it. My cousin and him, they seemed to be friends already, and they would, you know, there was no filter. They'd just say whatever they wanted.
As we got to know him, he was, you know, he's a nice guy, and over the years, you know, he became more or less part of the family. You know, Marty would be there every weekend, and for every holiday, for every Christmas, every birthday.
We were playing basketball, and he would make weird jokes like, oh, Evan, do you know what a job is? And, you know, they made me feel like I didn't fit in because I didn't know some of these terms yet. I was 11.
We came to find out that, you know, Marty didn't have a family, was alone and whatever, and he just kind of got, I don't know if the right word's adopted, but he just became part of the family.
Later that night, he just, you know, he was like, why don't we just talk about music a little bit? I was in the passenger seat in the front. He just kept driving around, and we talked about kind of what I would sing, what artists I like, and Marty, all of a sudden, out of the blue, you know, he was like, did you ever see an old man's penis before? And I was like, whoa, that's kind of odd, and I didn't want to, you know, be disrespectful and just get out of the car, and, you know, what would I do? I was kind of in the middle of nowhere with this guy. I told him no, I never saw an old man's penis before, and, you know, we got out and we were walking, we got to a park, and there was a tree, and he pushed me to the tree and was like, I'll show you what a job is.
You're welcome, bud.
That is cool. All
right.
Thanks, Marty.
My pleasure.
Nice.
I kept saying no, no, and he was pulling my pants down, and I didn't know what to do after that. Like, do I tell somebody? Because he was really cool. Everybody liked him. And I considered it like nothing really happened. I can just brush it off. It'll go away, no problem.
Around November of 2011, I became aware of this issue of child abuse in Hollywood. You have young children who are aspiring actors because of these aspirations, they end up being somewhat easy targets. Some cases have parents who set aside normal cautions and allow their children access to adults when parents might normally be alarmed.
Any actor is vulnerable in that position. Actors put themselves in the hands of coaches, agents, managers, publicists, and by and large trust them.
You know, being up sometimes really early to go to these auditions and stuff. That was when Michael Harrod approached me and said, you know, well, you can come and stay at my house with, you know, the other guys that are there. He had 3 other guys staying in the house with him that were his clients.
Many of the kids that I worked with couldn't have even been able to take advantage of being in the industry had they had to have their families move here with them.
From 10, 11 to 16, 17, but I still thought it was rather odd, you know, that someone would let their 10-year-old son move in with at the time, I think, mid-50s-year-old man.
I do see the possibility that things can be misinterpreted, and I try to be very aware of that. No matter how closely you're working with someone, and you do work closely with clients in these situations, there still has to be that professional line in there where you say, we're not stepping over this.
We worry about stranger danger. Don't let your child be alone with a stranger. And everyone really tends to think that a pedophile is kind of a rapist. But really, that's not how they work. They employ a process called grooming that is a slow, meticulous way of convincing a child and their parents to trust them.
And there's the official photographer with a nice smile.
The perpetrator in these types of situations has the ideal layer. You know, this is their environment. They are creating or constructing a reality for themselves that accommodates their particular patterns of sexual arousal.
The predator is looking at this as a way to work their way into your life, to make a personal relationship with the children and to be there to bond with them.
Head out, guys. Big hand for Ardo. He did it. The man.
Typically, a predator is grooming many, many children at the same time, and they're at different levels of the grooming process. Because a predator knows, like any tiger in the jungle, they're not going to catch every rabbit. They just need to catch the weak ones.
Two friends to help out.
We went back and began to try to do some sort of reporting to try to determine how widespread this problem is.
Marty was very well known in the community. He had friends who were buying and selling pictures on eBay. We started to realize that some of the sellers were convicted sex offenders. We knew that he was somehow involved with another convicted sex offender, Bob Villard, who was selling pictures on eBay. Bob Villard was a very prominent publicist in the 1980s in Hollywood.
I knew Bob Villard casually as someone who was in the industry, and he did do publicity sometimes for clients that I had.
And he handled big names like Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio. He was very well known as a publicist. Bob Villard was also a photographer.
So I meet Bob Villard as a publicist who is a good photographer, bring exposure and whatnot, I believe through Michael Hara.
He was one of our biggest eBay sellers. It became obvious to us that Bob Villard was selling candid photos that he had taken.
You're there for a weekend. I mean, he feels just comfortable enough to try to touch you when you drank a few beers, or it's always good to get that few beers, and he tries to touch me.
We always knew his photo style because he typically had the kids shirtless, typically took an angle that was from the top down, so that the children are looking up at the camera as they would be looking up at the predator in an abuse situation. Bob Villard, he was a manager, he was a publicist, he was connected.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. There was a circle of older men, and they all had either their own power or connections to great power that surrounded themselves around this group of kids.
And it's widespread?
Oh, yeah. I was surrounded by them. They were everywhere like vultures.
For us, that really connected a lot of people. connections between how the kids got hooked in, we started to see the patterns. One of Bob Villard's favorite subjects was Brock Pierce. He was a common snapshot boy being sold by Bob Villard's eBay seller. Brock in the pictures was young, appeared to be 13, 14. Brock Pierce, meanwhile, was connected to Mark Collins Rector and Chad Shackley. We saw that they owned a company together called Den, which again, on the surface, it seems kind of logical that a child actor would grow up and become, use their money that they had made as a child perhaps and open an internet company. When we started to realize what this really was, it became a much bigger deal.
I was a New York City police detective, went to college and law school, became an investment banker, and then I backed into writing. I've broken very big stories over the years, been very fortunate to break big stories. In the late 90s, 1990s, I knew about the dot-com bubble, and that it was just extraordinary. A lot of people lost fortunes. One of the ones was Digital Entertainment Network, that I just happened to go across my desk, and I read about it a little bit, and I thought it might be a good story.
In the 80s, it was MTV that captured the attention of young people all over the world. However, now that youngsters are turning to the internet, a company called Digital Entertainment Network thinks they've got a chance of becoming the next big thing. They've created television-like programming exclusively for the web.
What makes Den different than other internet companies that have come before it? It's a fusion of the marketing power of Madison Avenue with the technology of Silicon Valley and the entertainment of Hollywood.
They were aiming their programming primarily for young people. So it was a whole new concept.
The majority of young people today are not finding themselves reflected in television. We're creating content that specifically targets your needs, your wants, your desires.
We're creating a new form of entertainment to serve the global youth audience.
Can we get a little sponge for Mark? He's getting a little shiny. It's not up here. I'm sorry, a little shiny under the eye.
Okay. Makeup.
Mark Collins Rector, somehow on one of the early chat lines, which were a little more than hookup places, he came across Chad Shackley.
You really should be on camera.
I'm on camera.
Who at the time was maybe a 15-year-old kid, and Collins Rector was much older than that.
Okay.
Mark Collins Rector moves to be close to Chad Shackley, and then they start, for lack of a better word, dating. Eventually, Chad moves in with Mark Collins Rector.
Chad and I had to jointly develop Concentric Network Corporation, which was one of the very first internet service providers.
And then they brought in Brock Pierce. Now, how Brock Pierce eventually landed there is anybody's guess.
A friend of ours introduced us to Brock Pierce. And Brock, at the time, was producing his first independent feature. He'd been an actor for many years. And together, the three of us completed what was eventually to become Den.
Everybody was just throwing money at these companies. David Geffen, I believe, put in $250,000. Brian Singer, he had $50,000. Michael Huffington put about $5 million into this. It must have been $150 million that was pumped into us. Now, 15 years ago, $150 million was still a pretty good piece of change.
I need somebody to ask me a question so I can give you an answer. Is that Jay? Come here, Jay. Drill me on camera.
He was flamboyant. I mean, everybody told me he was very theatrical, very dramatic. He had a very good way of getting his way. Think about this. He takes a 15-year-old kid from his parents to move in with him. That's Chad. Most of us would be afraid to, even if we did, whether it was male or female, you'd be terrified to even ask that question for fear that they're gonna come and take you away in handcuffs.
Surely you have something out of all this bullshit you can cut 5 seconds out of it you get from me, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
They had a great idea. Their idea was to make their own films and put it on the internet. Well, lo and behold, that's what Netflix is doing now. Of course, it's 15 years later. problem was the internet or computers did not have the capability for that. But meanwhile, they were paying people money and filming as though it were a major studio.
I was called to go out for an audition for the show, Royal Standard.
I am 14 years old, and I started acting when I was about 5 years old. I enjoyed a lot, so it's a fun thing.
So we went over to Din, and I had the audition there, and I met him, met Mark Collins, director, and I met some of the other people there. Everybody seemed impressed, and you know, this is the guy for the part, the kid for the part, and yeah, that had never happened before, just getting, you know, hired on the spot like that. I thought he was nice, thought he was a nice guy. I thought he was nice, you know. Yeah.
How I feel about working on the Royal Standard set, it's great. Crew's wonderful. It's a lot of fun working on green screen. I get to learn some martial arts more than I already know, so it's lots of fun. It's wonderful.
We're in the basement of my house. This was where Mark basically lived for a couple of years. But he spent most of his time down here. He was kind of like a hermit down here. This is where he hid out. I was looking for some paperwork. Mike had told me to look for some paperwork that Mark had. Mark had a copy and Mike had a copy. Came down here and I found these documents. I found Mark's deposition. Mark states, I met Michael Egan in '99 when I moved to Los Angeles. He called us and told us that he was working for a company called Den. I know he was really happy about that. It was a big step for him. Mike was with him at the time.
I had already met Mark Collins' rector, Chad Shackley, and Brock Pierce at a graduation that we had for our private school. There were only a few people in my grade. Scott Shackley was Chad's little brother. So I was introduced to them, and then they gave me a job as an actor at Den in a TV show.
Was that good?
Was that good?
My favorite hobbies? Ooh.
One of the first shows they produced was Chad's World. It was about a young boy who comes to live with this older man. It was a real example of art imitating life, their lives.
Welcome to your new world, Chad.
Jeez, you guys fixed it all up for me.
In fact, they even filmed Chad's World at their house, the M&C Mansion.
You got your own TV, phone, VCR, stereo, your own jacuzzi. You got the works.
Oh, yeah. I think I'll be able to hang here.
It was fulfilling a dream.
In or about September 1999, both Michael Egan and I were invited to a party.
We are at what used to be called the M&C estate. Mark Collins' rector and Chad Shackley's house.
Well, we arrived there and Michael introduced me to Collins' rector, Chad and Brock. Mark Collins' rector just showed me the house, showed me the backyard, the guest houses, you know, went through all that.
There was no expense spared at the M&C estate, there really wasn't. The pool was ridiculous. There was a swim-up bar, like, in the pool. Like, I can remember often being served lunch, like the butler or whatever, the chef would come out and, like, bring lunch to the swim-up bar at the pool. You know what I mean? It was literally like going to Disney World for the first time. It was like, this is amazing.
This place you got here could definitely work to our advantage. Bring some girls here. They're gonna love this place.
Sounds good to me.
Before I even went to the house, like, Scott was like, you know, my house is different. You know, like, the dynamic at my house is not like a normal house.
I guess I should tell you. They're gay.
Hey, that's cool with me. I have no problem.
So Mark was definitely like the leader, and then like Chad, it was always like Mark like the husband, Chad would be the female figure, the wife, and I don't know how in a normal context you would fit Brock into that picture, but.
Where do you want my eyes?
Right into the lens.
Into the lens?
Talking right
Okay.
to the audience.
If I was over late at night, you'd see like they'd have people over getting into a hot tub with Chad or Brock or Mark or all three of them at one time, getting in where he was naked and all of them were naked, getting in the hot tub, and you'd start to see these different little things happen. I'd be like, what the hell is going on?
There's a skinny dipping rule after nighttime, so anybody who was over, you know what I mean, and it didn't matter who it was, that, you know, you had to skinny dip after dusk or whatever. You know what's going on, so you don't want to look right at it. It's like the sun during an eclipse, you know what I mean? You want to you want to look, but you don't want to look, you know what I mean? But, you know, I can't say that. I mean, obviously they weren't having sex in the hot tub, like right out in the open, but, you know, it was obvious to me that something was going on just by the position, you know? But I can remember just like, again, like, yeah, well, I mean, that's going on over there. It's kind of weird, but I'm in this Olympic-sized heated swimming pool right now doing laps. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? You know what I mean? And it was definitely awkward. Definitely.
What's the most exciting thing about Den to you?
The most exciting thing about Den is the people that work here, the people creating the content, the people that are running the show. We're a cool bunch.
Brock Pierce told me that they were going to a party in Hollywood Hills. There were lots of drugs available, and there were many young teenage boys, ages 14, 15 there.
People who would stand up to him, they're not going to wind up at this place.
I don't remember his name, but the one kid that was in Royal Standard, he was a younger kid, even younger than me at the time. And I remember once Mark had been at the auditions, they would go to the auditions and so forth to try to pick the ones that they wanted. And I remember the one younger kid, blonde-haired kid, I don't remember what his name was, but I remember Mark going right after him.
Do I remember the first time? Yeah, I do. He had picked me up at the studios and took me back to his house, and on the drive on the way back, he was asking me if I liked guys or if I liked girls. I said I liked girls. And he goes, okay, well, you know how you pick up girls is you put a sock in your pants to make your crotch look bigger. So when we got back to the house, he had gotten a sock and he would adjust it around and say, this is how it goes, like this, you know. At one point he said, you know what, why don't you just take off your clothes? Take off your clothes and let me see what you look like. So I don't know why I did it, but I did, and he looked at me and goes, oh yeah. That night, he dressed me up in somebody else's clothes and wanted to take me out to dinner. And I wore a sock in my pants that night. He would take me to in his house, he had a movie theater in his house. We went into the movie theater. I don't remember how it was that he got me. He started doing what he was doing with me. I don't remember. My memories are of me like just sitting in there and, you know, being scared at first. We would sit in there and watch something, and then he would talk to me while he was doing it and say, you know, this is nothing to worry about, you know. Don't be scared, you know, it's completely normal. I remember being scared, and I remember him saying, come on, think about a girl that you really like. Think about a girl that you really like.
Royal Standard, you know, it's a good series right now. And hopefully, you know, when I get older, do a lot of film work, try to make my way up, and hopefully catch a good TV series sometime, or internet series, which I'm on. So.
We know that in child abuse, the power dynamic is tilted. You have an adult who's preying on the child, who is manipulating the child. They tell me in interviews that they're fearful of professional reprisals, and they're fearful of never working again.
He just showed me porn, and he told me, oh, these are clients having sex with their managers. These 60-year-old men having sex with 14-year-old clients. He just told me it's normal, like this goes on all the time. This is what you have to do. Everybody does this, everybody who manages children. And he would tell me that constantly, oh no, you like it. And at some points I believed him. He would say, we could call it this guy. He would be glad to meet you. And he showed me this whole business of people that would be mad at me if I told anybody.
It is this added element where these young children are hoping to achieve a professional goal, which creates extra weight on the child. Should he or she be abused, it would make it more difficult for them to come forward in that circumstance.
Mark Collins Rector started telling me about how much money he had and how powerful he was in the industry and all the things he could do for me, and that if I screwed him over, that I would never work in Hollywood.
The sad part is, they can emotionally scar a child for life.
Man, I never would have guessed that Mr. Horton was, you know, gay.
Well, he's not, Willis. You know, that's the common fallacy about child molesters. They're not gay. They're only interested in little boys or little girls, not adults.
Look, I'm only 11 years old. Should I be hearing all of this?
I felt so much shame and guilt behind that secret that I held it for so long. Then I thought that and then you start thinking that all homosexuals are pedophiles. You know, a guy's gay, or he's a pedophile. I have to watch out for him. He may try to get me or something.
People should get this clear. These people are predators. They go after young boys, and they do it for their own reasons. So this has got nothing to do with being gay. This has got to be because they're evil people, and they particularly pick on people who they know will be victims. They're predators. That's who they are.
In the beginning, it was all happy-go-lucky, and then things started changing. He slowly became different on the phone.
That's how it came across to me. Something's wrong. Something's not going right, because I can tell when he's not 100% Mark. Suddenly, he's not so happy. And suddenly he wants to come home. I never knew what that was about.
Hi.
Hi, honey. How are you?
All right, shall we
So,
go in?
Your buddy's here.
Who's that?
Mr. Huff.
Very excited.
So have you been to this house before? Yeah.
Isn't this awesome?
Never been to a party here, though.
Never been
Have
to a
you?
party? Yes.
Some good ones?
Several.
Like, how crazy do they get?
They would have big parties very often. That's what the neighbors were complaining about, that they'd have all these cars blocking the sidewalk.
They would have valet service all set up out here, and this street would be lined with vehicles. Everyone was promoted to drink. I never had one drink ever before in my life until I was at that MNC estate. I don't ever recall ever drinking. I mean, 14 years old, it wasn't the top of my list.
There was an after party. Michael Egan, Brock Pierce, Chad Shackley, and Mark Collins Rector were present. Drugs were made available to us, including Quaaludes, Valium, Somas, Vicodin, Demerol, marijuana, ecstasy, and more. Brock Pierce and Mark Collins Rector tried to push me into taking these drugs. I refused. They then offered me cocktails, which I accepted. I believe that they laced my cocktail with ecstasy.
If you were staying at the mansion overnight, you had to go into the hot tub naked during their parties. And the parties were not just for the young boys and for their amusement, it was also a way to entice investors. And they got a lot of investors who would jump into the hot tub with these boys. Some of the ones that have certainly been out there are Bryan Singer. And Bryan Singer liked one young boy so much, they wrote a part for him in Bryan Singer's film, X-Men. I mean, it was written just for him. He was in the hot tub.
I was feeling very lightheaded, dizzy, and confused. Collins Rexter then told me I could go to sleep in his bed, but that if I went into his bed, I would have to strip naked. Collins Rector then turned from being concerned and compassionate to forceful and threatening. I told him that I would not go to bed with him, to which he responded, "Well then, just don't worry about going into work tomorrow morning." I went to sit on the couch. At some point, I passed out. When I awoke, I found myself in Mark's bed and completely naked with my clothes on the floor. Collins Rector was in the bed, and he was naked as well, with his arm around me. I am not sure of all the things that were done to me. However, I know that Collins Rector drugged me and abused me. I immediately got out of bed, got dressed, went downstairs. I found Michael Egan sleeping on the couch and woke him, telling him I wanted to get out of this place.
I think the best way to describe this is a pedophile ring. That's what it was. Did all the investors know what was going on? Probably not. Did a lot of them suspect? Sure.
Hello, I'm Brian Singer, and you're watching Rollywood at www.den.net.
Brian Singer is a very prominent director in Hollywood. He's done some pretty major movies, The Usual Suspects, X-Men, X2, so there's been quite a lot of, you would recognize his work. What most people wouldn't recognize is some of the odd connections that seem to tie him to this world.
Know your star, Pickle Boy.
Brian Peck, who was convicted of child molestation, worked for him on X-Men and did the commentary for X-Men with Brian Singer.
Hi, my name is Brian Singer, and I'm the director of X-Men.
I'm the other Brian, Brian Peck. I'm not the director of X-Men.
I've asked Brian if he would help me out here because I'm a little uncomfortable doing these things by myself. Now, you're going to see something very exciting here. One is Stan Lee selling hot dogs. My buddy Gary Goddard was the guy walking alongside in the flannel shirt. And the guy eating hot dogs is you.
The fat guy in the Hawaiian shirt eating hot dogs. Hey, that's me. Thank you for, I'm on screen so long, thank you.
You are. It's in fact, you are so imposing in the screen, people don't even see Stan Lee. I think the thing that appealed to me most about it was the idea that it was about anyone who feels disenfranchised, anyone who feels prejudice against them. I mean, it's really about a group of reluctant superheroes. Sort of their powers manifest at puberty, and they wake up one day and they're different from most of the people around them. And it's how they learn to embrace their extraordinary abilities and what's unique about them, and help defend a world that might at times condemn them.
A number of people I spoke to who put money in completely denied that anything untoward was going on there. And it was as though they were from the industrial home for the blind. I mean, if you see young men naked in a hot tub when you're having dinner, or you're having dinner with naked young boys, or young boys who are, inappropriately dressed for dinner, and unless you're deaf, dumb, and blind, you say, hey, this doesn't taste right. Something's wrong here. These are not Pollyannas. These are very smart guys. Hollywood doesn't have any system in place to protect anybody, and children are way down on that list, I can assure you.
In a Screen Actors Guild meeting, we were all serving on the Young Performers Committee at the time, which is a national committee at the Screen Actors Guild. And another parent brought a news article from the LA Times that described Bob Villard's arrest and the fact that the LA Police Department was looking for additional victims for Villard. And said, I request that SAG look into the idea of distributing this article or putting out an alert or something to their members, that it seems like something that's a safety-related thing that maybe we should let everyone know. And Michael Hara had a very odd reaction that day. He vehemently opposed SAG getting involved. Hara did not feel that SAG should be stepping forward, even in the wake of the LA Police Department asking for more victims. So SAG did not step forward and send that news out that day.
Well, I don't know that we've hidden them. I would think you would want to not hide it, but you would want to protect the child whose identity is going to come out the more you play it out. A situation like this never helps anybody. And yes, the sooner we can get it under control, the better. But the less the child has to live with the stigma of it having happened, I think it's better for them, not only career-wise, but personally.
It's why people don't report, because they know that even if they are believed, they're afraid that something will happen to their kid's career. There are people who don't want this out. The studios work to make sure this isn't very public. Brian Peck moved to Nickelodeon and coached on almost all their shows, really. It was one of those shows where he befriended a pretty major child actor. That child was abused by Brian Peck. He came forward and filed criminal charges against Brian Peck. And Brian Peck almost immediately pled guilty. Clearly he didn't want an investigation to continue, or clearly the studio didn't want an investigation to continue. The victim has chosen to remain anonymous all along in order to continue to work. It's unheard of that a child would be able to step forward at the time of their abuse when they're still a minor and continue to work afterward. I can't think of a single example where that's happened. So a kid that wants to speak out and say what happened to them beyond their family would truly have to give up their career. It's very sad that that's the case, but it's a reality. That's the worst part of it all, is that he's still working on kids' shows and he's still here, and he's been convicted. It's not somebody that we have rumors about or that we've had complaints about. There's actual convictions, and he's still here. I feel confident in saying all of the convicted predators that I have been familiar with had many more victims than the one that was convicting. We're absolutely talking about the tip of an iceberg. I'm not sure that we'll ever see the whole iceberg because I think there's so many factors pushing that iceberg down into the water.
I think that sexual abuse doesn't get more attention because it's an uncomfortable subject. We don't want to talk about it. It's ugly. It reveals things about our culture that we don't want to know. But by not discussing it, then we don't identify it as big a problem as it is.
A lot of child molesters will, they'll have this defense or this argument that it wasn't hurtful or wasn't harmful. The child enjoyed it. Many of them actually use that type of language. Now, the problem with this is that so many kids grow up to interpret that experience of manipulation and exploitation and abuse by a trusted authority figure, and then this psychological time bomb occurs.
I ended up in a hospital for a little while. I start freaking out and thinking that people are, out to get me. And I was very, just suicidal. Like, I'd always fantasized about suicide quite a bit. I had a pellet gun that I would fantasize about using to kill myself. I remember sitting in my room and crying my eyes out and sitting in a corner with the pellet gun, just saying, why did this happen to me?
Yeah, I guess you could say I kind of fell by the wayside and let LA suck me in. I had started doing drugs and got involved with a whole bunch of people I probably shouldn't have.
Whenever I'd have any pain or anything, I'd drink. I'd drink and drink and drink and drink and drink. Didn't know who to blame or what to blame, and I completely just hated everything about everyone.
I'm trying to leave that stuff that happened to me at 12 years old as far as behind me as I can. We had to have more. We had to have more and more because we didn't want to feel anymore. And we wanted to be completely numb of everything we were feeling. And, and cocaine was it, and then shove it down further and further. Meanwhile, I'm just shoving it down, just shoving it down, just shoving it down. And then one day when it all comes back up, I'm a full-fledged addict.
I thought I was the unique case there, but apparently I'm not. I don't know if that makes me feel better or worse. So many people went through the same thing that I did.
He comes home, and he's just a completely different person.
He never talked about going back out again after that.
No.
He never talked about returning.
And he was just so introverted then.
We didn't trust, where before, he didn't have a problem trusting people. He started drinking more often, and he would hide that from us. After he was back home, he said, I gotta tell you something, Mom. And I said, what? What's going on? He said, you know Mike, right? I said, yeah. He said he was molested. I'm like, what? And he said, what would you do if that happened to me? If that, you know, what would you do as a mom? What would you do? His drinking had gotten so out of control that even he knew. I mean, he knew. He couldn't work. He couldn't. It was just affecting his whole life. So we had to give him an ultimatum. So we just sat him down on the back porch and just said, Mark, you got to get help or you have to leave. And he admitted, I know I'm an alcoholic. I know that I have to stop, but I can't. I don't know how. I called the hospital and spoke to a nurse there, asked her about detoxing him and what it would take and how we would do it. And she said, you know, by all means, do not let him stop drinking cold turkey. It can cause stroke, can cause seizures, can cause heart failure. Apparently Mark wanted to do it on his own, trying to go cold turkey. Because one day, Fred woke me up and he said, something's wrong with Mark. So I jumped out of bed and came downstairs. Mark was on the floor and he was like, had a rag, and he said, was wiping something up off the floor, and he said, Dad, I swear to God, I'm not drinking. I swear I'm not drinking. But there was nothing on the floor. Fred helped him up, took him over and sat him down on the couch. He goes, buddy, are you all right? What are you? And he said,
He goes, I'm not drunk.
I'm
Dad.
not. I
promise
swear
you,
to
I'm not
God,
drunk."
I'm not drunk. I haven't been drinking, Dad. I promise. I swear. We didn't know what was going on. We just didn't know.
Half of his body was on the couch, and his head was leaning back in his corner, and his
But he
legs
looked
were
up
like
at
hanging off
Fred
the
and
side.
said, I love you, Dad. And Fred goes, I love you too, bud. He said, just lay back for a minute. And when he laid back, he started his tongue, and he was just shaking like this, and his clenched like this. And I ran to the phone and called 911. And Fred was holding his arms down so that he wouldn't hurt himself. And I'm on the phone, and I said, I think he's detoxing from alcohol. I think he's, has withdrawal. I need an ambulance right away. Right away. He's seizuring right now. Ambulance came. Fred had him sitting up a little bit.
They took off. I came in the house, went upstairs, started getting dressed.
Went to the hospital, and we walked in. They said, are you Mr. and Mrs. Ryan? And we said, yes. It's your son, Mark Ryan, yes. Well, the doctor wants to talk to you.
They walked us down this hall into this empty room and put us in this room and shut the door.
And then the doctor came in, and he said, I have some bad news. Your son's heart stopped on the way to the hospital.
We went back a decade to try to find contemporaneous reports, and we found 12 separate prosecutions of people who had used this allure of Hollywood to prey on children, and they were across basically all facets of the industry. So you have this phenomenon of crimes potentially being underreported. Moreover, some of the victims that I spoke with felt stigmatized. They felt they were to blame for the crimes that had occurred, feel they can't speak out publicly.
We thought everything was happy, everything was great. And then all of a sudden, one day, Evan just said, look, he wasn't practicing anymore. And I said, what? You gotta be kidding, after everything
like a shock,
that you've gone through. And
I was like, I don't like music anymore. I don't want to do anything with the industry, nothing.
I figured he's going through his teenager and you know, puberty. And so I figured, you know, maybe that's what it is.
I was like, I'm not gonna live a life like this. You know, I'm not gonna be held down by this guy for the rest of my life. And I needed a way for people to believe me. I needed a way for my family to believe me.
Hi, Nita. How you doing?
Okay.
Happy birthday, Evan.
I'm getting massage and it feels great. And I don't care whether or not it looks bad.
Okay.
It's above the waist. It's not bad. Go.
Yeah, I had to find an excuse to get him alone where I could talk to him. So I figured, why don't we go to McDonald's so we could talk in the car?
Yes. Take a, let's see, a kid's meal, chicken McNuggets, please, with barbecue sauce. Make the drink Diet Coke, easy ice. You're getting a shake?
Yeah, medium.
Medium chocolate shake.
Then no whipped cream.
No whipped cream, no cherry.
Because I was hoping that we'd be talking for a long time in the car once he parked somewhere.
When was the first time that we met? It was,
First time we met was that one time that we went to the park. You guys were going to the park to play some basketball.
And then it would be kind of quieter in the car and I can get everything on tape. Because I remember you asked me if I ever did anything with a guy before.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I was afraid if my recorder would beep or if something would go wrong and if he found out that. And then that's when you asked if I wanted to try it. And that's when you, oh wait, that's when you gave me my first job, right?
You're not recording this, right?
No, I'm not.
Thank you. Keep it this way, Adam. I never would have done anything with you if you hadn't expressed interest. That situation that happened at Penn State, those kids didn't want it.
Yeah, but I didn't at 12. I was not interested. I was just so, I remember that night you did pull out your penis in the car and I was scared. Like I didn't know what to do. Because you asked me if I wanted to touch it. I was in the car, in the van.
I'm trying to remember that. I'm trying to remember that. Because that kind of sounds familiar.
I just remember being in the car and you were asking me questions.
Well, see, that's just it. The questions were to determine whether or not it was something that you actually wanted to do or didn't want to do. I mean, I wasn't.
If I didn't do it, I wouldn't go further in the music career, or I thought everyone did it. He would tell me everyone did it and that it's normal and natural. That's the normal thing to do if you're in the industry.
Well, let's put it this way. It was, I'm sure I said that. I mean, it is a natural function. The only difference between us and the rest of the animals in the animal kingdom is that we socialize it. Take a look at animals the way they do it. They don't care about anything. They don't care about age. They don't care about sex or sexuality or anything else. They just, they feel like it, they go for it. And as human beings, we put rules, regulations, and restrictions on it. If we were any other animal, it wouldn't matter.
I was just numb when he told me. I was like, how could this happen, and how could I not have seen it, that this was happening to Evan. And I don't know, it was just so painful, really painful. And of course, the first question for me was, to Evan, did it happen once, or how often did it happen? You're kind of hoping it's once and that's it. But then Evan told me that it happened many times and over several years. And that's when I thought I was gonna faint. It's just so hard.
He just seemed like a great guy. You know, I'm not a violent person, but I wanted to go beat the living daylights out of this guy.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with Jack and Dixie running free.
The first thing that happened to bring the demise of Den was a lawsuit filed in New Jersey against Mark Collins Rector, Chad Shackley, and Brock Pierce. It was a lawsuit filed by a young boy who had worked for Mark Collins Rector. This is the first allegation of sexual abuse that became public. At the time, Den was gearing up for a $75 million initial public offering, which was going to make them all very rich. And when that started to leak out more and more, two of the boys that have been victims, Mike E. and Alex B., went into the estate with a camera to collect evidence. One of the things he took pictures of was the huge amount of prescription bottles that were in Mark Collins Rector's name. OxyContin was one of them, but there was Vicodin, Percocet, Xanax, and there was like a lot of bottles. Hollywood's a company town. Mark Rector joined that company in that town, and they get away with murder. Or in this case, they get away with being pedophiles, and that's what happened. These are very smart guys. They're very savvy guys and very successful guys. I don't think there's anybody there who wasn't worth millions of dollars. The investigation and the lawsuit started to leak out, and Mark Collins Rector started to panic. He had a gun collection. A number of boys told me he would point the gun at them just like that, whether it was a shotgun or a handgun, and say, you know what I could do? And he meant it, according to them. It's very scary for anybody to point a weapon at you. Nevertheless, if you're a young kid and your boss is pointing a live gun at you, that would be terrifying.
They came home and explained what happened, and I started crying, and I said, this didn't really happen to you, did it, Mike? Did it happen to you? And my son got curled up on the floor in a corner and started rocking and saying, Mommy, I was just a kid. I was just a kid. And they threatened me, and I was just a kid. And I knew immediately that I had to bring someone and get someone involved. The police, the FBI, whoever knew I needed to expose these criminals.
They were worried about being arrested. There was an FBI investigation. They had heard that. Somebody told them they were questioned about it. And when they learned that, they were in the wind.
I was talking to Scott one day, and then, you know, I couldn't reach him for a couple of days, and then it was only a few days after that I was there, and there was nothing. There was like literally nothing. Nothing was gone. Even I think the fountain, if I remember correctly, the fountain, there was a fountain in the front yard. Even the fountain was gone.
And they went to different places in Europe, hopefully to avoid being arrested. And somebody gave them up in Spain. Chad and Brock were released quickly, but Mark was in prison for a year and a half waiting to be extradited to the U.S. Eventually, he was sent back to the U.S. and pled guilty to 9 counts of child sexual abuse. Mark got out of jail relatively quickly, but was required to register as a sex offender, and shortly after his release from prison, requested that he be allowed to travel to England for medical reasons. He did, and he never came back. In 2007, he applied for a civil union in the UK with an 18-year-old boy.
I know I saw that with a boy who was getting into a car with a boy or something like that. And obviously you could tell by looking at the boy that Mark was dressing him, you know what I mean? It was just like blatantly obvious to me.
And in 2011, he renounced his U.S. citizenship, and he's been untraceable ever since. Rest assured, the people who invested money did not want to sue them. They wanted this to go away. I'm sure small investors did, but the Michael Huffingtons, they weren't going to sue. So I went to the executive editor at Details magazine. She loved the story, assigned me the story, and they said, go and do it. The story was huge. And I submitted it. My editor loved it. It was quickly fact-checked. And then, a couple days later, I get a call from his assistant to an assistant to an assistant who said, we're not doing your story. We're going to pay you a 25% kill fee, and we'll give you about half your expenses. That was the end of it. But I was so disgusted with it, I didn't want to write anywhere else. It's Hollywood. People do what they want in Hollywood. And if you're a big enough star or a big enough director or you're making enough money for these people, you can do whatever you want.
Martin Weiss was charged with multiple counts of lewd acts upon a child. He was charged with 1 count of a forcible act upon a child under 14, 2 counts of continuous child sexual abuse, 3 counts of sodomy with a person under 16.
You see Marty walk into the courthouse, and he was in chains, he was in shackles, and he was a lot grayer.
Now I had to go up on a stand and, tell people, along with Marty staring at me, what went down.
He insisted that he wanted to go up there. It was a very, I was very proud of him, what he did.
I don't need this pain in my heart by being mad at someone my entire life, but it's more a matter of, telling the truth for me and saying, okay, what you did was horrible. I don't know. I just felt like I need to move beyond it, and I don't need to feel that pain. And if he can accept it, that what he did was horrible and could move beyond it, I could forgive.
The maximum sentence for the charges that were filed was approximately 14 to 16 years. Generally speaking, it's unusual to get the maximum sentence. He pled to 2 counts of lewd act with a child. He pled to 2 counts of sexual abuse. So it was clear it wasn't a one-time thing. And in exchange for pleading to 2 counts, which is much more severe, he was sentenced to 5 years formal probation, 365 days in the county jail. He had to go to sexual abuse counseling. He had to stay away from Evan. He had to stay away from children. And he has to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life.
He was arrested in December or late November, and then he got out June, 6 months.
They almost never serve the full day-to-day sentence in county jail.
6 months is a joke. It's a joke for what happened.
In any case, to ask a DA whether or not they think that they were completely successful in protecting the community from any future crime is impossible for us to answer. I can't truthfully say, or honestly say, that I stopped any future crime. I wish I could. I wish I could in every case. But I can only do what the law allows for us to do.
Unfortunately, to get bad people off the street, yeah, we need it could have been a lot better. He could have served much longer. In that way, the system did let me down, and they're letting other people down. He told me that there are other people that he was doing it with. But like I said, I think it's more important to be able to speak about it and just be free of that secret than it is to really get justice in the court system.
There's a moment in the book where you, to a degree, introduce Corey to one of his abusers.
Do you take responsibility
I
for
sure
that
do.
emotionally?
Yeah, and you know what? He asked me to take responsibility for that on the show, and I did. This is going to be a painful process. The dust is coming out, the cobwebs are being cleared, and people are going to know that we all play a part in this story. And it's what part are you going to take responsibility for?
This last year, we sponsored and passed a bill called the Child Performer Protection Act. The bill will do two things. One is make it so that sex offenders cannot work with children in Hollywood, because right now that doesn't exist at all. The second thing it does is requires a permit for people who work significantly with child actors, such as managers, publicists, photographers. All the people that we've seen get convicted would now have to be fingerprinted and cleared and get a permit, so the state would be able to track them and prevent them from continuing to work in the industry if they're caught doing something bad.
I have to confess that I haven't signed up yet myself, and I should go and do that. I don't know. Is it going to be effective? We have yet to see. There's nobody running around saying to me, have you signed up yet? Why not? I just think in many cases it's a situation where somebody isn't thinking. The parent has become trusting where they shouldn't become trusting. Regardless of how good the situation looks, your job is to protect your child. But I still think it behooves the agent, the manager, the publicist, whoever it is, to know where that line is and not cross it.
Hello, Michael.
Yes.
Hi, this is Joey.
Well, hello, Joey.
Yeah, how are you?
How you do?
What, you were what?
I was just thinking about you.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was. I was reading an old Hawaii magazine, and I was thinking about you.
Yeah, well, it's been a while, huh?
Yeah, it has. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah.
Kind of lost track of you.
Yeah. What about you? What are you doing?
I've retired.
You have?
I still have one or two clients that still come around, but it's not like it was. And so I'm not taking on anybody new. I say that, and then watch, I'll do it. But
What about, have you heard from Bob lately? Bob Villard?
oh, Bob Villard. Last I heard, he was in prison, Joey.
Oh, is that right? For what?
Well, I assume some sort of a problem with children, but as they tried several times to get him, and somehow or other they didn't. But last I heard, he was. So now I don't know anything about that. I don't know how long it was or anything else. So no, I haven't heard from him in a long, long time.
Oh.
Kind of forgotten about him, actually.
Well, that's kind of the reason why I got out of the business. I don't know if you ever remember that I slit his lip open with throwing something at him, and I was on my way home, never to come back. And I've gone through a lot of therapy, and I don't condone anything that he tried to do, and Lord knows what he's done to anybody else. I don't know, and
I don't know, Joey, and you know, I take these things with a grain of salt. I'm not sure how horrible they really are.
yeah.
I just, you know, I know I'll never know the whole story about it.
Where I've had the opportunity to talk to someone about it, I've said, look, this is not a terrible thing unless you think it is. It's just something that happens to you in your life.
Well, I don't think it's right for anybody to take advantage of anybody, and I think that it's that whole thing is rotten. What he tried to do to me, and quite frankly, I didn't like what, you know, when you tried to have me sleep in your bed and touch me and everything. I hated that too.
And that was something unwanted. I shouldn't have done it. And there's no way you can undo that. But it certainly is something I shouldn't have done.
I don't know what Joey is remembering, but I don't remember anything that would have caused him to feel that way. All I can say is that as a result of the situation he was in, not only with me, but with others, that was how he perceived something. it certainly wasn't anything I intended, and that was going to be my response to it.
I mean, are you attracted to young boys?
Not particularly, no. So much of what goes on in these situations happen almost by accident. You get the idea that someone out there was a child predator and they were preying on children, and everything they did was to steer the child into this. And a lot of the ones that I at least was aware of, they just sort of fell into it.
Did anyone ever try anything on you when you were a kid after?
Well, I guess so. My whole approach to the whole thing was not sexual. I mean, it was, yeah, I suppose somebody did. If I would be hard-pressed to remember anything specific, but it wasn't uncommon, let's put it that way. It's difficult when you're living in a situation where there isn't the adult supervision that there should be, to see how things are going to be perceived. And I don't know what else to say about it.
If you're a thief, you're a thief. A lie is a lie is a lie. We're in Hollywood, it's accepting, okay, whatever. He's a good manager. I'm sure he knew everything about the whole bomb alarm. To hear how good he is at playing the Hollywood coldness. Great to hear from you. I was just thinking about Hawaii. Hey, Sue, you're calling from Zimbabwe. Hey, I was just thinking about you. Really? Yeah, I saw a magazine on Zimbabwe, and I was thinking about you. Do you think he really saw that as insincerity? Good, lying through his teeth, because whatever, because you're from Hollywood people, scumbags. Don't even get me started.
They finally let us go back and see him in the emergency room. And the doctor said that he's non-responsive to anything.
They worked on him for about 8 to 10 minutes, trying to start his heart and keep it going. Without oxygen for that length of time is probably worst case scenario.
And the doctor said if he doesn't respond within 72 hours, he's probably not going to. Well, me and my wife are, we just take it one day at a time. We've had so much happen since we were kids, and then getting married and having kids, that we just take life one day at a time. And I would sit on one side of the bed, Jan would sit on the other side, and we'd both hold his hand. And it was like just holding a piece of meat. The second day, one doctor pretty much had given up on him.
Yeah, you need to make a decision.
And he kept pushing the 72-hour thing. And I was like, your 72 hours don't mean a damn thing to me. And at 68 3/4 hours, Mark's eyes finally responded to the light. So.
Yeah, and then he opened his eyes.
And he opened.
Yeah.
But then there was no way in hell that anybody was taking him off the machines.
Hey, buddy. How's it going? How you doing? Yeah, give me some of that. Where's your other arm, huh?
Fred is my hero because he never gives up.
What do you want?
And he's instilled that in Mark. And Mark will never give up. He's the most courageous person I've ever known in my life.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you too. Are you hungry?
I love you.
I love you too. Want to give me another hug?
He's a miracle already, just even being alive. I mean, they said at the very beginning to his family, he's not going to make it, he's not going to make it. Everybody wrote him off. He was never going to move, never going to be able to eat. I mean, all of it. And look at him now.
I want to comb my hair.
You want to? Hey, Bengals colors.
Mike made that.
Isn't that cool? For Bengals.
Fred is my hero because he never gives up. And he's instilled that in Mark. And Mark will never give up either. And through them, I'm never going to give up. But that's where it comes from, this guy right here, right there. He's the most courageous person I've ever known in my life.
But you coached him, right?
Yeah, it's Ryan Foster.
You coached him?
He's graduating this year from Charleston.
Look, it says, thanks, Coach Mark. Hey, are you coaching next year?
I'd like to see Mark back on this field, coaching the kids, doing what he does best. He's a great coach. You know, I know that Mark is his own man, and he's made some bad choices, he's made some good choices, but I know that as a human being, that Mark is a good person. When Mark gets out and he's back on this football field and he's standing there with me coaching, God can take me then, but not until then. So that's what I want.
There was so much damage that's already been done. And now I think at the end of the day, I mean, I look at some of it and I've really tried to kind of move on beyond all of it. I don't know, I've still never seen any retribution towards those assholes. Never seen a damn thing. I mean, you look at them as they still sit on their pedestals, and the same thing's probably going on, could have went on last night with someone, who knows?
Saying that there are people that were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working, they're still out there, and they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
And they are.
And they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
What would you say to a parent who just has the best of intentions who's coming here with their child?
Don't go into it thinking that it's all roses and sunglasses and
You're damaging
all
an entire industry.
I'm sorry.
Ultimately, I think that viewers are the only group with power in this situation, because I think that there will always be a steady stream of kids who want to be famous, of parents who push their children in this industry. If we don't speak out about it, then we are part of the problem, because we are contributing to a culture that normalizes this. And by normalizing something, it becomes invisible as a problem. So yes, we hold up these high-profile cases to say, these are bad guys and we are good guys. And I actually think that we are all a little bad when we don't speak out.
There's so much damage.
After the whole thing with Mark Collins Rector happened, it's made my life very dark. I was never able to have a girlfriend or anything. And I'm just now still recovering from all of that stuff. Like, I feel like I'm kind of at a point in my life where I'm getting better slowly. I moved to Florida about a year ago, and I moved out there because of my grandmother. Kind of wanted to be there to take care of her, and then I met a girl over there. She's my first girlfriend that I've ever had. So now, you know, my life is my grandmother and my girlfriend. And
I give them education, I hit them knowledge, not the different inspiration.
just trying to get myself back on track, and you know, trying to enjoy life and.
Watch this emotion, boom.
Boom, here we go with the emotion. I'm coming back coasting. Everyone knows I'm roasting. Boom. Not you, but Russ.
I like it. I finally found a place that I like, you know.
the dream is so important, you know why? Because if you're living on this earth, you have to feel something, and the dream make you feel things. And that's what the power of a dream is, you know? Dream is life.
It's a hard process to go through the whole court thing, the whole police stuff, but in the long run, it's so worth it. Because in the long run, it isn't really about how long this person will serve time in prison or getting justice and revenge and all that. It's more kind of being able to express yourself and say, look, this happened to me, and I'm going to move on from it, and I'm not going to hide this in my head the rest of my life. And I'm going to maybe possibly one day make a difference to somebody else by speaking out about it.
Taking over the light now. All there is to be said has been said. Let the walls fall, let the shadows disappear. Let our story start from this moment here. This is a call to arms, this is a call to arms, you know. This is a call to arms, this is a call to arms, you know. My heart beats dry. Stolen words are now mounted to words on walls. I let the quiet light in shadow fear.
You know, getting death threats, all that. But they said, we have more film. And this is only release *1, so they're doing it like Project Veritas. This is their first documentary. They will be continuing to produce more documentaries that will then expose it further. And of course, you know they're gonna try to kill him. Did you see, for example, Bryan Singer? He's an X-Men. See, yeah, X-Men. You go see a Hollywood movie. Now you are supporting. You're giving Bryan Singer a tip. You see that? So it's not like it's an innocuous thing. It's not like it's a small thing. You are then, without you knowing, and you think it's all a big joke, you're supporting political Satanism. Do you see all those fools still working there? And they're trying to lower the age limit. You see this? Always trying to lower that age limit. In Germany, what's it now? 14? In France, 15? Canada, what, 14? They just raised it to 16, apparently. Washington, D.C., 12 to have an abortion. You don't even tell your parents. Did you see they caught that kid at 11 years old? 11 years old. You see what I'm saying? Everybody thinks it's a big joke. And oh yeah, oh I'm so artsy. I think I can become successful and famous with my talent. And you got these idiot parents who actually send them to this death cult. Satanist cult. And of course, this is just a tip, by the way, right? This is only the tip. I mean, you're talking about world level people, little level powers, Jimmy Savile in Britain, UK. What's it? Edward Heath. I mean, this is not only just, molesting children. Edward Heath was into necrophilia. He's into, that's all by the police report. He's into killing children and then raping their dead bodies. You understand? This is literally Satanism, alive. This is thousands of years of ritual and satanic actual tradition that these people are engaged in. Okay, because your kid can sing and dance. Hey, oh, you should be a star, honey. Are you crazy? You're giving your kids over to devils, literally devils. Right? Funded by the same people. So look at that whole same crowd. Hollywood protects Silicon Valley, protected by George Soros, protected by the international banking, all protecting one another. All teaching political Satanism, by the way. Even that, you know that professor of Occidental College, the blonde-haired girl that comes out, she's pretending she's such a, oh yes, I'm standing for the children. I saw her on Tucker Carlson. She's a complete socialist lunatic. That woman was saying, we should have taxes, 90% of, what is it, people who are successful over whatever, should pay 90% taxes. So she's a complete socialist commie too. She's supporting a system that, literally destroys, exploits men, women, and children. So they're trying to portray her as some kind of hero. She's a freaking, she's an exploiter too. She wants big government to force all the men and women who work and produce, produce things to pay 90% taxes. And of course, Tucker Carlson called her and said, okay, professor, why don't you show the example and you pay 90% first? And she goes, I donate to charities all the time. And he's like, ooh, that's very different though. That's very different because you're calling for the state to steal people's 90% of their money. And then when, of course, you have to do it, you say you give to charity. I love these it's so ridiculous. You can go just watch Tucker Carlson battle her Occidental College, the blonde bimbo professor who thinks she's smart. And I love how they try to portray LA Times as if they're, oh yes, we just discovered this right now. Breaking news, we just found out this happened in LA. Give me a freaking break. So these people are colluding with each other, but of course, these guys who produce it are brilliant. They're smart. They know they have to wake up that liberal audience who's already in a cult and brain dead, and they're completely political Satanists, even though they don't know it, because they're chasing Hollywood. So they're trying to help liberal, lunatic, brainwashed, dumb people, young people to wake up. Okay, so that's why they put in LA Times, or you know what I mean, right? But it's not like the LA Times just figured out about this now. You know the LA Times has been covering up for the Hollywood for how many decades now? You see what I'm saying? And of course, why are they trying, all these people trying to lower that age limit. Now you think this doesn't happen. Oh, 11 years. No, that kid was raped at 11 years old, folks. 11 years old. You see what happened? You got to tell your children about this stuff. You have to be the one who talks to them about it. You don't want some, what's his name, that pedophile. You don't want that kind of person talking to your child about sex. You see why Father talked about absolute sex? Very, very clearly. Husband and wife, very, very clearly. There's a place for sexuality. Oh, did you also see how that kid at the end who got handicapped? He got into the drugs and they try to get you on the drugs and the pills and the drinking. You see that? Didn't our Father who loves us and try to protect us from predators say, don't drink, smoke, and get in that culture? Because you think it's a big joke. Oh, I had a little drink. It's so, okay, you think it's a big joke. You're creating an environment where you're inviting the culture of predators to come near you. And if you do that, your children are then vulnerable. You just thought it's regulations. Oh, why does True Father give us all these rules? He's not giving. He's a loving father trying to teach his children to create an environment that protects his grandchildren. You understand what I'm saying? He has a sheepdog mentality. And they don't want the sheepdog mentality. They don't want young people to understand these things, that this is real. He doesn't want them to be able to defend themselves. You see what I'm saying? When our kids got here in Pennsylvania, first thing we told them, look, this is America. Some girl may come to you and rip your pants off and start giving you oral sex. You don't know. And this was when they were in middle school. I told my boys, I told my boys that. I said, you better watch out, because the girls, it's in America, boys will try to do that to you too. And they're going to try to give you drugs, they're going to try to give you booze, they're going to try to give you smokes, they're going to try to give you a joint, whatever. And they went to public school, and not all those things happened to them, but a lot of them happened to them. They try to get booze, they try to get joints, they try to get smokes. They try to make fun of our kids because they didn't date. What are you, gay? What are you gay? They try to play on your mind too, you see. They try to put seeds in your head. Maybe, no, you're just gay, just accept it, come out, you know. Maybe you're just gay. You see what I'm saying? They try to put this into your head. So then a young kid is in middle school saying, oh, yeah, maybe they're saying I'm gay, maybe I am. You see what I'm saying? They get confused. They're purposely trying to hypersexualize, purposely trying to pull you into that camp, purposely trying to evangelize to you. When you're trying to follow God's command, you're trying to keep yourself in purity, but then they're messing with your mind. Oh, and nowadays they're messing with your gender. Oh, are you really a male? Come on. You feel like a female, don't you? You see what I'm saying? It's all about mucking with your mind. Because they want to muck up your life, they want to muck you and want to screw you forever. That's why the culture of the loving father and the protective father and the strong father who empowers his children and warns them of the wolves is critical. And what is that? That is exactly the core of Christian ethics, Christian culture, JC culture, Jesus Christ culture. It's not the liberation theology, socialist, commie, Catholic Church, Jesus Christ. Look at the Catholic Church. They should have made a whole documentary on the Catholic Church. They're doing the same damn thing. They got Cardinal Pell. He's a deputy pope. And he's been trafficking children in Australia for 30 freaking years. And now he's caught.
Thank God.
I mean, that's the top level of the Catholic Church. Top. 30 years plus he's been trafficking children in Australia, and now he got caught, and that Catholic organization is now caught. Because they are part of Babylon. They are part of the political Satanists. They just pretend they love Jesus, like the Freemasons who make you make promises to Jesus, when then later on they make you break promises to Jesus and then make you corrupt and make you a Satanist. Because it's all a big joke. It's all a big fun little joke. They're playing on God. It's all about trying to defile and corrupt you and destroy you. And it's just hilarious. It's hilarious to see good people be destroyed in their minds. But they're going to try to kill these people who produce this movie and then try to kill them. And they're already getting death threats, etc. But thank goodness they're learning from Project Veritas. And they said, come on at us, come on. And do you see how they're exposing people? They're naming people in Hollywood. Harvey Weinstein is not out. Polanski is out. There's some other guy on Drudge I saw this morning. Some other producer, major producer that's out. Maybe somebody can pull that up. It's on the left-hand column I saw, so I can't remember his name. The art world and arts world and the painting world and the dancing world, all of this is connected. All of them worship Hollywood. That's where they look towards inspiration. That's where the centralized, all the arts coalesce. And it's all arts for Satan. And then they want to lure you in and think, oh, you're being creative by adopting these occult rituals and things into you. You're opening your mind, see, with these mind-expanding drugs and drinking, and you're liberating yourself from traditional values and ideas and marriage and all this oppressive slavery. No, you're being freed. Who's that? Director James Toback. 30 women accused director James Toback of sex harassment. Another one's coming out, see? Babylon is burning! Hollywood is burning! Burning down. Metaphorically, it's burning down. And the culture of... Think about this. Satan is the first pedophile. He got Eve when she was, 16, brother? 16, 15? He is a sex predator. He is a minor attraction syndrome rapist. His culture. You see what I'm saying? And think about it. Yes, it's about preying on the potential of God's children. Because you can destroy them early. They can never become strong. Look at it. Look at that. Look how damaged those kids are, man. They went there thinking they're going to be so cool. They're going to be, rubbing shoulders with the Hollywood elite, shaking a picture. Oh, Amy, stupid posing into the camera. Give me a break. How stupid is that? This is ridiculous. They're impressed by that. Give me a break. But they suck them in, lure them in, and just destroy them. And you see what happened to those kids. They are screwed for life. They can't live. They can't live normal. They can't sleep alone at night. 20, 30 years later, they're still trying to get over this. I heard a great man, a former veteran, say, it was something along the lines of, a dead criminal can't commit any more crimes. That's right. You see, that's the big secret in Hollywood. You see this? Not only Hollywood, this is the big secret in all the occults, okay? Satan and Lucifer, and all that, Wicca, all this crap. This is a big secret, and it's now starting to come out, people like Zachary King revealing it. Why were they doing the Salem witch trial, burning witches? Why were they killing and hanging Luciferians and Satanists? Isn't it funny that historically, Luciferians and Satanists, yes, there's many, many cults and many groups, but isn't it funny they always end up in the same place? It's all about killing children, eating children, destroying them, and raping them. That's the lower levels. It's like killing them and then eating them. All in the same place. Isn't it funny? And we think we're so modern, we're so trendy. Hey, no, we would never do such. Well, these people, look at what they're doing. Oh, and did you love how they try to say, oh, pedophile has nothing to do with being homosexual? Are you kidding me? What is it that, okay, maybe for some homosexuals, maybe, but you know the statistics, a homosexual has 300 partners on average. That is a super sexualized person. 300 partners on average? Hello? I mean, the normal heterosexual person has what, 5 partners on average? That's still a lot. That still destroys your chance of having a healthy marriage. But hello, 300 partners? I mean, if you're in a habit of having partner after partner after partner, are you kidding me? You're talking about that's not connected to pedophilia and other deviant forms of sexuality? Give me a break! And these sex rings are not only going after girls. The girls are just they're the joke. These guys are going after boys. And this is what the demonic predators always, in the end, they want the boys. Because they want to destroy any of that potential before it can mature. Because they know the girls are going to be weaker than the boys. So they got to destroy the males, the alpha males, before. And of course, they have to pull them out of any alpha male culture. Alpha male culture has to be demonized. Alpha male culture, where you do stuff that makes you stronger and tougher, has to be demonized. Culture where you learn how to do strong but dangerous things together, but you do it in an environment of ethics and a code of chivalry. Okay, they got to get rid of that. They don't want the women to be trained by alpha men like that. And alpha man doesn't mean you're a caveman, like, girl, come here, rah. Drag my wife by my hair, rah. That doesn't mean alpha male. You can still be a gentleman, a romancer, and all that to your wife, and be an alpha male. You know what I'm saying? But you understand the culture of trying to raise your children to be strong and to become alpha males and females so that you can destroy and stand up against evil. And you don't give in to it thinking that that's the way you're going to get power by giving yourself to it, which always makes it worse. It makes you exploited and it makes you get raped. See that Hollywood is burning. It's very interesting. Eve was the first pedophile victim. Now it's interesting that now that the true Eve has been substantiated, the true Eve, okay? Now this problem has been going on for 30, 40 years, but it's never broke out like this.
That's right. Yes, amen.
Now, right after 923, where we have the true Eve, who was not adulterous, not a fornicator, not a Hollywood brainwashed lunatic. She was a woman of God, faithful, loved Christ her whole life, 90 years of loyalty to Christ. And isn't it interesting that she steps into that position with the three kingships on the microcosmic level? And you see literally the heart, the beating death cult heart of political satanic free sex culture Hollywood Babylon begins to start burning down.
Hallelujah.
Now remember, this is a death cult that exploits and preys on young girls and young boys. What was Adam and Eve? Young boy, young girl. Isn't that interesting? This is the center, the Hollywood culture, whatever, is the center of predating on young girls, young boys. Right? What was Adam and Eve? Young girl and young boy. You see how that's connected? You see how that's connected?
That's
right. You can see the family fraud as they pulled. Of course, you become heresy and have betrayed true father, etc. You can see just how fast they're degrading. Some of the key leadership now, of course, now divorced and married to outside women and still have leadership positions. I mean, it's just a friggin' joke. It's a ridiculous joke. It's a complete joke. And you know in the next generation, because they have no faith, they don't even believe in true Father, they have no anchor to Christ. They laugh at the Bible. They think the Bible is ridiculous. Oh, we're past that. Remember this? Oh, you're going backwards. Remember this? Oh, it sounds just like Hollywood, hon. Sounds just like Hollywood. Don't be surprised when you have all these sex scandals and rape scandals and pedophile networks developing in the family fraud. Don't be surprised. All connected. Same demon, same demoness, same Satan, same Lucifer. But isn't it interesting? The adulterer, the destroyer of innocent boy and girl, Adam and Eve, and the root of that culture, which destroys targets young boys and girls, targets them. You see those 5 companies that we saw in the intro video? Disney, Viacom, Time Warner, all that. Targets young boys and girls. Where'd all those bums go? Oh, where'd all those fools go? The dumb bums, they ran out, suckers. They gotta see that. We gotta have the young people see that at teen night one day. They don't know what they're getting into, thinking they're artists and trying to be. You don't have to impress those fools. You use your arts and your talents for the glory of God. Then you're using something that's connecting your art to eternity. It'll be valued over time forever, not toilet paper once your stupid pedophile parents stop raping you. It's like a freaking death cult. And then they're connecting all this artsiness. Oh, this emotional trauma. Oh, this emotional, yes, we're tied to our emotions. You know, and now I've got to commit suicide to become more creative. And it's like they're in a satanic cult. Of course, Satan is, as Zachary King was saying, sharing, they will lead you to do these things. Yeah, you know, this ritual requires a demon to be present and a spell. It has a spell. Oh, and it requires a little bit of blood. So you have these Satanists on YouTube that actually are cutting themselves, bleeding on these ritual things, saying that they're empowering their scroll. They're living in freaking Harry Potter fantasy land. It's nutbags. These people are sick. They're psychotic, mentally deranged patients. So you should be careful. You know, yes, okay, God gives some people art, talents and arts and some of that. Gives you skills. Yeah, but you're supposed to use that for His glory. You start using that for yourself, your own self-spread. You suck. You suck. You're going to be garbage toilet paper real quick. You're not going to have eternal art that's going to continue to inspire the ages forever. No, you're going to be a pass in the wind, a dead skull on the ground. You ain't nothing. You have nothing tied to eternity. You see what I'm saying? All these gifts have to be tied and centered on God, on Christ. Then they have, look at this beautiful picture. This is a beautiful picture. Now that art is going to last thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. People will see that. You see what I'm saying? Because not only is that a piece of art, an incredible computer graphic art, but there is an incredible epic story of God there. The heartbreak, the tragedy, but yet the victory. In the end, the devil will not win. And these kind of arts uplift your spirit, fill you with true ethics and true honor and true patriotism and true chivalry, and teach you what a true mother, a true wife, queen, king is. In one flash of an image, you can see what is a kingdom. Honorable men who don't betray what their father promised upon them, and honorable women who will uphold and support the next generations to uplift their Father in heaven. That kind of culture can't be beat. These pedophiles and transgender crazy, they're trying to replace this kind of culture with their freaking nutbag pedophile minor attraction syndrome culture. And their freaking transgender Mushi, what's the name? Yushi Mushi? What the heck is that idiot's name? What's that stupid guy who dressed up? The dragon. Michelle Obama invited this fool to a public library to read to the children. Zuchi Muchi, that's his name, the fool. Zuchi Muchi. He's tattooed up, muscular guy who dresses a woman, says he's a woman, dressing up in a freaking drag outfit, painted face like white, like Carnival, and has horns coming out of his head. And, hey, yes, children, let me read you a little book with my bulging muscles and tattoos. I mean, what the? This is what they're pushing on the children. 5-year-old children. Get a picture, you guys, get a picture of that if you can. Zuchi Moochie, my ass straight. Give me a break. That's what they're trying to replace Christian culture with? Exactly. That's exactly what they're trying to replace Christian culture with. That's exactly what they're ramming down your children's throats. They may not be actually sexually raping them. Of course, there are other cases in schools nowadays with even their teachers. But they're cramming down other stuff down their throat. Making them gender confused, making them have gender dysphoria, which is a mental disease, making them feel like they're gays or homophobic, that they should be evangelized to the homosexual church. Because you know the homosexual clubs are homosexual evangelical centers. But yet you can't say Jesus Christ or read the Bible in an after-school program. Are you kidding me? You can set up gay clubs where kids are having sex with each other, but you cannot have a Bible study group in school. What the hell is this? You see that? What will those children learn? They're going to see this document and say, so what? What's the problem? Why are they so traditional? Don't they understand where we're going? We're the future. Yeah, exactly. Like, share this video with everybody you know. Thank God for these kind of people who are getting out there and exposing. I know some of you, even in our congregation, even young and old, have experienced sexual harassment and abuse when you were in school. Wow, so of course you guys know what it's all about and how they prey on you. But again, this is essential, of course, that it gets out and Hollywood follows. And it is time. The reckoning of all things is now. SOS, come on up. Folks, I know it's not common that pastors show this kind of stuff in Sunday service. But that's the problem. That's the problem. You're not only supposed to hear good scripture, you're supposed to hear the ones that God warns you about the bad ones. And there's plenty in the Bible about Babylon and the wolves. And the church and the young people need to be able to see and recognize this as their reality, especially if the demons are trying to lure them into that artsy world. Oh, you're so talented. Come into this artsy world. Yes, come in. You have to have proper amygdala function, proper centering. Because think about it. We know even people who are mature in faith, even if you don't continue to go back to the Word, you can see how fast your mind can start getting influenced by TV or whatever. Think about how young kids, how fast teenagers, 20-year-olds. I mean, they hear the king shouting about this every freaking day. Maybe that'll keep them, somewhat in line, remember what's going on. But as 2 weeks go by, then they hear the king preach. Then they hear me ranting around. They already forgot they're watching MTV again. You see what I'm saying? That's how pathetic they are. Not all the kids here, but I'm saying, That's how ridiculously easy it is to lure them in to the predators. It's not a big joke. You get lured into that, you're going to die. It's all about honoring the Father and his love for us, his sacrifice for us, the blood that he pays for us. You're honoring honor and chivalry and truth. You're honoring an ethic of civilization that seeks to protect those who God has given a blessing to. When we start abusing the Father, when we start going back on the Father, when we start turning away from the Father and get attracted by the glitz and glamour of the fallen stars and the fallen Los Angeles and the Los Angeles and all the fallen angels. Isn't that interesting? In the Bible, they say Lucifer was the fallen stars, morning star that fell. So you have all the stars, and where? Los Angeles, which means, in Spanish, the angels. All the fallen angels and fallen stars gather there. And they brainwash everybody across the globe into their deviance and immorality, Babylon. You can see the same micro and macro connection as we get deeper into the revelations from next week again. You're going to see it again. You can just see it again. I may have to show this or some pieces of this and some other things just to remind y'all, because like in a week you can see how you just you can forget so much. And that's why the Bible says people of God suffer violence because of a lack of knowledge. We're not going to the Word. We're not getting our Scripture. We're not getting our Rhema. We're not doing our Hyung tradition. These are all things that the Father gave to us to protect our civilization, folks. This is not just some religious practice where you can feel religious by doing them. Oh, I got up and did my Hyung. I feel really religious. I'm a good person. That's not what it's meant for. It's meant to protect the civilization. You understand? It's not something you can brag on. Oh, yes, I did my Hyung. Yeah, bow to me, ha. It's there to protect the civilization. It's about all the cells in the body being alive and rejuvenated with a fresh word and a fresh life-giving water and a fresh life-giving nutrient, which is, of course, the Word of God. We can't have only a few of you getting a freshening and a word and a power and a nutrient, and all of you are dying. Can't have that. The gifts that Father gave unto us, it may seem like there's something that he's putting on us like this. They're not. They're meant to protect our civilization, our culture, our nation, the JC ethic, the Jesus Christ ethic, to protect the future. Because when we are true and we're honorable, we stand with God, we have a future, and we have a destiny, and we have providence, and we have a mission, and we have a purpose. Not just dead cells, mitochondria floating around in outer space having sex with each other like these. I told you the evolution argument would come out. I told you the evolution argument would come out. You see what he taught that? He said to that boy, he said, well, we're just like animals. It's not a big deal. You see that? Always the evolution argument. You see that? The evolutionist argument leads towards deviant sex. It's all for sex, see? Those arguments are just rationalizations to have licentious sex and be accountable to nobody. That's what all this for. At least Aldous Huxley, I believe it was him, at least he was honest about it, saying that was the case. Unlike these stupid other lying atheists who pretend that's not the case when they're having freaking orgy parties. And they're professors. Give me a freaking break. Lord, help us all. We are in such serious times, folks. It's a time to praise God even stronger, more strongly. And of course, bring people to the kingdom. Because the time is right. Guess what? The Christians, they're awake now. They're starting to realize their churches have sold them out. The Catholic Church has sold them out. All the people, the presidents, the conservative party that they believed in and thought they were Christian believers, Bible believing Christians, they sold them out. Yes. They can start seeing that they have nobody else other than the macrocosmic exemplar, Trump, who's not the Messiah, but he is an example of what the people are feeling inside. They're knowing Hollywood has destroyed them. They're knowing they've destroyed and divided their children and destroyed their families. They know Silicon Valley has used technology to surveil them and destroy them as well. They know that everything that's been created has been used against them. And they'll give you little benefits and little iPhones to make you feel like they're really doing it for you. When, of course, they're putting backdoors into the iPhone where they can steal your pictures, steal everything you download, see a computer, and put stuff onto your computer as well to frame you. Yeah, but of course, that's all for you, you see. It's all for you. Just in case you get uppity now. You see what I'm saying? Now the body of Christ is waking up. And they know Christ must return. They know his kingdom must return. They know at some point they have to put on a crown. They know the world will be ruled by the rod of iron of Christ's righteousness and goodness and his law. But they do not know what it is. And of course, even though their children are literally in a homosexual cult, transgender cult, and a pedophile cult, Hollywood and leftist lunatic education and colleges, they will still go out of their way to say, we are a cult and Reverend Moon is a cult. We don't make you make oaths to Jesus and then up down the line make you break oaths to Jesus. See, we don't do that. Yeah. But that's why I guess we're a cult. We want everybody here to be stronger and have the rod of iron responsibility and be able to defend themselves and have firearms and be responsible citizens and be kings and queens. But we don't want to pray and devour and destroy and exploit humankind, man, woman, children. But I guess that's why we're a cult.
We ain't no cult. Never.
Give me a break! Most of the Protestant churches now are sold out to the state. They are teaching a pro-state, pro-protecting pedophile government. Washington, D.C. is a corrupt pedophile state, just like Hollywood. Some of the only incorporated city-states, they call them city-states, states within cities, which is Washington, D.C., it's an incorporated separate state. Also, London is also a separate incorporated corporation outside of the UK. And also, the Vatican is as well. Isn't that interesting? All those three centers of power seem to be connected to almost everything, all the problems. All seem to be connected to Satanism and child rituals and exploitation of man, woman, and child. All seem to be connected to Jimmy Savile and Edward Heath and pedophile networks. All seem to be connected to Hollywood and parties and orgies. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe the art world is not as creative. Maybe the artwork is a sham. Maybe the art world is pathetic. Maybe the art world is filled with beta male predators that want to devour young children and girls and boys, huh? Maybe that's what the freaking art world is. That's why they hate any alpha males in their region. They don't want nobody talking to AR-15. They don't want nobody teaching college skill and knife fighting. They don't want nobody teaching real and bulletproof stuff. They want you disarmed, dumbed down, and subservient. All the more reason to get your training and get your AR-15. Everything they hate, you just do it, okay? Just everything they hate, just get your AR and training. Because it's like a lion. It's like a lion that's saying, you better not come in this territory. Every time an AR fires, the predator goes, oh, shish kebab. Damn, we can't go in there. Every time that rod of iron goes up there, oh, damn. You see? That's a scary thing. Oh, isn't it interesting? The Lord of the Second Advent, first business is about, making firearms. Oh, isn't it interesting that he's helped the defense industry make the Vulcan cannon and make the whole defense industry for Korea to stop a nuclear war with North Korea? Isn't that interesting? president, he tried to make all the young people unlike their virginity by doing hard things like commercial fishing and getting on a boat at 34 weeks at a time and doing halibut in the frigid Arctic waters of the Alaskan Sea and go hunting in the mountains and boar hunting in Yosu and doing martial arts with the second king and Francisco. Ask anybody. We are already in the Cheonbokgung Palace there, in Cheonbokgung Palace in Seoul, Korea. The big, church palace we have there. 1,000 brothers and sisters. We were training all those young kids. We're just starting the training in MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Francisco. He was on the security team. Remember that? We had created the bottom basement. We made into a dojo. Remember that near the cafeteria? That was the same time where Kuk Jinum was working with the top, government to allow the Korean military to bring their military arms back to their civilians' houses, like Israeli model. It was a totally different culture coming in. Look at all these high-quality young men and young women we got here. I mean, high-quality young men and young women. Yeah, they may not be walking around on star-studded Hollywood, stupid red carpet soaked in children's blood. They may just wear blue jeans and a baggy shirt. But don't be fooled. You girls, don't be fooled. You see the guys, some guys at church, our guys at the church are not. Our guys at the church are the most handsome, you understand? Yeah. They're the hot potatoes. Our guys are becoming guys. They're becoming alpha men who are loving and kind as well. Okay, so their wardrobe is not the best at this moment, but that can improve. You understand? These are guys who have a father and they love their father. They're not ashamed of their father. They want to embrace their father's culture and want to help young people protect their children and their generations ahead. That's the kind of handsome man you want, baby. You don't want no freaking Bryan Singer loser, freaking idiot, or child rapist. I make X-Men. That is ridiculous. Okay, I'm starting to rant. All right, folks. I have a bad habit about this, okay? You get me so riled up. In this kind of time where we see the book of Revelation coming alive, and we see Hollywood is collapsing, all the fakeness, all the fraud is collapsing, we can do our part. We can do our part. We stand with God. We stand active in political, politically we stay active against political Satanism with political Godism, because that's what we're doing. We're staying active. We're opening our mouth. We're standing up against radical Islam. We're standing up against, the invasions of Europe and America. We're standing up against the pedophile networks in Hollywood and Silicon Valley. We're standing against the vaccines where they're poisoning and, maiming over 70,000 poor Indian children in India. I mean, this is ridiculous. What these people get away with. And of course, all funded by George Soros and these literal demons. I mean, they're literal Satans walking the earth. And it's all a big joke to these brain-dead, dumbed-down, idiotic people who watch mainstream news and CNN and Hollywood shows. It's unbelievable. But that is why the body of Christ is getting stirred, it's getting challenged. 923 has happened. Their hearts are now opening. They can't call us a cult. They better start calling freaking Hollywood a cult and the freaking leftist lunatics and the Conservative Party a cult if they're not supporting President Trump. That's right. They're in the dang cult. That's right. Talking about we're a cult. People's hearts and souls are yearning for God's kingdom to come because they know that's the only way this crap is going to stop forever. That's right. Amen. It's never going to stop with even the U.S. Constitution. You saw how that got taken over by commies and the international bankers. It's not going to stop like any other system. Especially as Sharia law is growing and will become in 10 years half the world's population. Multiplying at a rate of 8 children per man. There's only one thing that can stop that. And that is a righteous body of Christ and the righteous Christians standing with Christ, standing with his kingship, standing with the constitution of the kingdom of God, and vanquishing the Satan's kingdoms of the world. And of course we don't want to do it with bullets and guns and, of course we don't want to do it like that. We'll do it with spiritual, the sword, and it said all those things. But if it comes down to that and they force that, that's what they get. Nobody's asking for it. Nobody's saying we want to do that. But the people of God must be ready and strong. Because if the fight is brought to them, they must not perish. Too much is on the line. Your children, grandchildren, your future and destiny is on the line. You have no choice. You either stand with God or against. The gray zone is gone. So as we praise God today, let us instill that deeper in our heart. Let's all rise. Give him all the glory. Of course, we pray for all those kids and the people who are in the leftist lunatic cults in Hollywood and abused by all those pedophiles. Pray for them. But at the same time, we know there's only one answer, and that is Christ and his kingdom. Amen.
So I'll turn to God and really keep God as our focus in our hearts. When we're talking about all these Hollywood things, I've literally seen, girls with like shrines to these boy bands and these actors, and they call Ryan Gosling their hubby. But we have to keep true to what's true, what's truly this at the center of our hearts and the center of our lives, and that's the King of my heart, that is God and our Jesus Christ.
You put up shrine. That's exactly why you don't relate.
Let the King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good.
You're never gonna win. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna win. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna win. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna win. You're never gonna let me down. 'Cause
you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh.
You're never gonna win. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna win. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna win. You're never gonna let me down. Yes, you're never gonna win. You're never gonna let me down. 'Cause
you are good. You're good. Oh, you are good. You're good. Oh. Remember, they're all sinners, and that only through God can we become clean and pure, through His love and through the blood that He shed for us.
I see shattered. You see whole. I see broken. You see beautiful. And you're helping me to believe that you're restoring me piece by piece. There's nothing too dirty that you can make worthy. You wash me in mercy, and I am clean. There's nothing too dirty that you can make worthy. You wash me in mercy. I am clean. What was dead now lives again. My heart's beating, beating inside my chest. Oh, I'm coming alive with joy and destiny. Oh, Lord, you're restoring me piece by piece. There's nothing too dirty that you can make worthy. You wash me in mercy. I am clean. There's nothing too dirty that you can make worthy. You wash me in mercy. I am clean. Washed in the blood of your sacrifice. Your blood flowed red and made me white. And my dirty rags are purified. I am clean. Washed in the blood of your sacrifice. Your blood flowed red and made me white. And my dirty rags are purified. I am clean, oh, washed in the blood of your sacrifice. Your blood flowed red and made me white. My dirty rags are purified.
Go through life being a symbol of his love and being proof of his love, so that anyone who sees us sees God through us. An empty voice, a hollow noise. If I speak with a silver tongue, convince a crowd, but don't have love, I leave bitter taste with every word I say. So let my love be the proof of your love. Let my love look like you and what you made. Give all glory to God, and remember all these trying times that we can always trust in Him, trust that He will guide us for what is best for us. We might not always think that we're going down the right path, but as long as we stick true to God, stick true to His Word, we'll go there.
Each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fights. No matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers, as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. The truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things, be my life and bread. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers, as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort. You are my sturdy hand. You are my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I go you're not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers, as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Lord, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. And I will trust in you. Lord, I will trust in you.
God is good, right? God is good all the time. God is good forever. So let's sing together that God is good.
Lord, you are good and your mercy endureth forever. Lord, you
만세! 천일국 장관! 만세! 아주 amen, and 아주 have your neighbor welcome there. Praise God.